There we go. Now I know no one's watching. Um, but I'm curious if I can get through 2 hours of 428 content with only 3 protagonists. And sadly, despite the title, less Osawa and concubines of Osawa than ever before. I started Minorikawa last time, so I think I'll start with Kano this time, but I'm curious why I can't do it. I guess we'll find out eventually. But also Archie and Kano's stories will probably be kind of similar to this. Let's crack on. Who knows, maybe tonight we'll find out who the villain is of This Starts with an A. Kano's cell phone rang. He saw Kuze's name on the display. Kano speaking. What the hell are you doing? The director's voice was shrill with irritation. What's the situation with Maria Osawa? I have her in custody, sir. We need to get her to quarantine immediately. Hey, it's mainly because I know I won't be streaming on Thursday, and I don't think I'll be streaming on Friday. Now, I said might be yesterday, but then I realized no, I'm definitely not, and I might not be on Saturday. So, how much did you see yesterday? We need to get her into quarantine immediately. I'll send a counter-NBC terrorism unit to pick her up. A public safety mobile investigation unit belonging to the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department Public Security Bureau. The acronym NBC refers to nuclear, biological, and chemical threats. But it's not atomic, biological, and chemical. That's the ABC project. The unit not only gathers information and investigates terror incidents, but that makes use of these means and also deploys relief and safety restoration methods. Wait, what? Wait, I don't even know what you're talking about. Wait, old lady. Oh, that one. And she was being very Higurashi. Yes. So, Kano and Archie and Maria and Hitomi have all met up. Kanan and Stanley and Archie's dad are also there. And the villain, who's starts with an A and the name I'm forgetting right now, they hacked into Endo Electronics surveillance and sent a message that they need to get Hitomi to Shibuya Square to Alphard, thank you, because they want her blood or something. And now Maria has collapsed, possibly to do with the virus that's inside of her. Meanwhile, Minorikawa is still working on his thing, and Hitomi and Chiaki fell over. What's your location? Sir, the situation's a little complicated at the moment, Kano replied. She fell over and bruised her knee. He and Stanley made eye contact. Kano gave him a knowing nod. He knew what he needed to do here. He briefly informed Kuze of the plan to take Maria into the laboratory. So, like, they need to do something. Like, as I said, they need Hitomi to go to Shibuya Square to meet up with Alphard, or otherwise bad things will happen to Maria / everyone. Also, Kanan is possibly going to be able to break into the password for Osawa's lab because, as we know, Tanaka is dead. Hey, Maravir. Holy shit! Thank you for the raid. Now I feel like I need to explain everything to everyone. So, Maravir would know me because I also play Tetris. I don't stream it a whole lot, but I do play it. And right now we are playing a visual novel which takes place in Tokyo, and it's like a very just absurdly chaotic day. We've gone from 10 a.m. to now 6 p.m. looking over the lives of 5 different protagonists who have different roles to play in this convoluted story. He briefly informed Kuze of the plan to take Maria to the laboratory, but was careful not to mention Alphard. Please, sir, Kano said, bowing reflexively to the phone. Let me handle this. Absolutely not, Kuze exclaimed. There's no way I can allow that. Maria Osawa needs to go into quarantine right now. Also, because every single game I play seems to be very ominous with current times. I'm now looking up the definition of quarantine. The act of placing infectees in isolation, such as in medical treatment facility, in order to prevent the spread of infection. For viruses capable of airborne transmission, an airborne infection isolation room is sometimes used, which employs negative air pressure to ensure air from within the room does not leak outside. So please, just give us a little more time. Giving her the antiviral is the only way we can save her. It'll be a death sentence. Kuze let out a growl of frustration. Kano, that isn't your decision to make. Kano had run out of arguments. It was clear that Kuze's only concern was stopping the spread of the virus. Director Kuze, are you just going to let Maria Osawa die? We can't put the lives of everyone at Shibuya at risk in order to save a single person. I know that, sir. That's why I'm asking you to please let me go to that laboratory. And if it looks like we're not going to be able to hack the password, then at that point, a quarantine kit— Kano! Kuze snapped. I'm giving you an order. And I'm not accepting that order. Listen, Kuze said. How many years have you been a cop? What do you mean by that, sir? Kuze didn't reply. Is this an order from up top? What's going on here, sir? Please, I need some kind of explanation. Stop it, Kuze said. You sound like a child. This is dereliction of duty. Call me a child if you want, but I'm not following an order that I know isn't right. Kano punched the end call button with his thumb. From an objective standpoint, maybe Kuze was right. They needed to think more than just Maria. If the UA virus spread throughout Shibuya, it would be a nightmare of epic proportions. No, Maria is with them right now, but she has collapsed. Kano understood that perfectly clear, but still. He looked down at Maria's face as she lay collapsed on the floor. This girl was still alive, and Kano couldn't stand idly by and let a living, breathing person die. Consequences be damned, he wasn't going to be the one to weigh the worth of someone's life. As he stood, still clutching at his cell phone, Stanley gently set a hand on his shoulder. You mean Archie's dad? Because what happened is at one point when they arrived, Archie's dad tried to kill Hitomi because he wanted her blood, and then they talked him out of it. And then Archie realized that his dad was the one who was directing Tatano to make sure he never lost track of them because he was following on the cameras. "You did fine," he said quietly. Yeah. Funny you say that, because of the reflection, Maria's hair looks totally different. Alphard is in the possession of the UA virus. The people of Shibuya are already in danger. I'll get the voice back in a moment. He may have already released the virus in the city. If he hasn't, he may do so at any time. There we go. Right now, what we need to do is get the antiviral and arrest Alphard. You made the right choice here. Thanks, Stanley. I appreciate hearing that. Stanley gave Kano a nod, a slap on the back. He was right. At this point, they needed to focus on things they could still accomplish. So guys, actually step forward. Who's going to take Hitomi's sister and Kanan to the lab? Maria was in no condition to walk, so they were just going to have to take a car. Excuse me, it's boring me voice. It's because he was the first character. So they were going to have to take a car, which meant that they needed a driver. I only have a motorcycle license, Archie said. And I don't know where the lab is anyhow. go with Maria alone. Kanan looked over at the others. There's no way of knowing for sure when she might become contagious. We shouldn't needlessly risk exposure to more people to the infection. She knelt down to gather Maria in her arms. Wait. As soon as I find out who it is. Wait. In that case, I should drive. Kendo turned around to see the new voice behind him. If only. Tatano was standing in the doorway. You! Archie's face went red with rage. Well, let's see how Archie deals with this situation. Oh, is it just gonna like jump between the two of them for 2 hours? No, we have not seen Yanagishita in 2 consecutive streams now. Or even 2 hour blocks, if you will. Maybe he and, you know her name, they're at the eating contest or something. Okay, they are just gonna do this. I'm fine with that. You! Actually snarled. Chiri, that's it. Chiri. In the doorway stood the man with the cane. Detective Tatano. Tatano. Kano and Daisuke spoke simultaneously. I wish they'd make it easier to tell who's speaking. Now at last, Archie had a name for the assassin. It was a name he felt he'd heard somewhere before. You son of a bitch! Archie roared. What the hell are you doing here? Tatano bowed his head profusely. I am truly sorry. You're sorry? Sorry don't cut it, man. Not after what you were trying to do to Hitomi. I don't expect you to forgive me, and I intend to turn myself in to be punished for my crimes. But before I do that, please let me do what I can to help you. I think you've helped enough. Archie grabbed Tatano by the collar and drew back his fist. Tatano, Kanan knocked him out with like a single punch and he was just left on the rooftop. Kano moved in to stop him, but Tatano held up a hand. No, it's alright. Let him do as he pleases. There was no trace of the menacing expression the man had worn in their previous encounters. Archie scowled, but lowered his fist, then released his hold on Tatano's collar. Fine. Hitomi's sister needs help, so we do need a driver right now. Make sure those two get to the lab and back safely. That'll make up for that punch I didn't give you that just now. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I actually can't tell who's speaking. Damn it. Daisuke stepped forward. No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. I'm the one who got you caught up in this. Yeah, this whole scene is just like a flaring up of anxiety. Daisuke, we didn't grow up to be very good people, did we? No, guess not. The two men stared bleakly at each other, shoulders slumped. In the end, Tatano said, I guess we were just trying to run away from our pain. Yeah, didn't expect my own son to be the one to teach me that. Archie turned out to be a fine young man. He is Katana's boy after all. Gas! Archie stepped into the middle of their solemn heart-to-heart. Stop speaking, you got the worst 2 voices here. You can get sappy all you want later. Dad, once this is all over, we gotta see Suzune, right? Sure. Daisuke nodded heartily. Hold on, Kano spoke up, turning to Stanley. If these two take Maria to the lab, that just leaves us two to apprehend Alphard back at the scramble. Is that gonna be enough? I mean, Alphard's not gonna show up without a plan. The more people we have on our side, the better. And I doubt we'll be able to get help from the police. Good point, Stanley agreed. Hey, Archie said, I'm here too, and I'm going with you. I'll keep Hitomi safe. Oh good, look, good news, Kano. Now we have 3 people. Stanley let out a sardonic laugh. Ha 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 ha! Kano frowned. Archie, I appreciate the offer, but having 3 people instead of 2 won't make much of a difference. When you're not sure of the enemy's exact plan, you really need strength in numbers. If we could set up a dragnet like the task force did this morning, that'd be ideal, but... Come on, detective, Archie said. Don't you have any idea of the sort of approach this psycho might take? If I were Alphard, Kano mused, then I suppose my biggest problem would be figuring out how to get away after I've taken Hitomi's blood. Stanley nodded in agreement. I'm betting he plans to involve the UA virus somehow. If, for instance, he tells us he's set up a device somewhere to spread the virus without Shibuya, that prevents us from taking action against him. Archie swallowed hard. This guy wanted to unleash a killer virus in Shibuya. If he succeeded, then the town Archie had known and loved all his life would become a graveyard. Of course, that's mere conjecture, Stanley murmured. Quite frankly, even I can only guess what he's gonna do. His expression was grim. Strength in numbers, huh? Archie said. So you're saying we absolutely need more people, is that it? Essentially, yes, Stanley replied. But not just anyone, mind. If it's not a group that meshes well, it'll hinder more than help. Kano folded his arms across his chest. He looked perplexed. People will mesh well together, huh? Archie had an idea. It seems like the logical payoff to his plot. He could ask SOS. If there was anything he could do, it was that. It was a selfish request, he knew that. Susumu would probably be furious with him, but Archie would just have to deal with that. Even if his old pals wouldn't forgive him, if they understood that they'd be helping to protect Shibuya, he was sure they'd step up to take action. After all, the whole point of the gang was that it was made up of people who loved their town. Can you give me half an hour? I'm gonna try and see if I can rustle up some people. Kenneth straightened himself up. You think you can do it? Archie nodded assertively. Just wait here for me, okay? He said to Hitomi. She gave him a worried smile. Alright, I'll be waiting. Hi waiting, if you ever say this. It'll be okay, Archie did his best to sound reassuring. I promise I'll bring back some help. He knew where he needed to go, the pool hole in Nura Harajuku that was his old gang's main hideout. Running at top speed, he could probably make it in about 10 minutes. Alright! Rushing up the door with a battle cry loud enough for Kano and the others to hear from back inside the shop, Archie sped on his way. Is there going to be another speaker? Oh no, not yet. Traffic on Dogenzaka was a near standstill. Had there been some sort of major accident? As Archie ran along the roadside, he heard a middle-aged man screaming angrily. You've got to be kidding me! No trains are stopping at Shibuya? This guy was red in the face. What the heck is going on? I actually felt compelled to stop and check it out. Calm down, Dad. The young woman and the man must be his daughter then. Then Aya Kamaki's #2 fan. How am I supposed to do that? You heard what that boy said. We have to get out Shibuya right now. Whoa. No, whoa. I actually got a look at the young woman's face. She was gorgeous. He had the feeling he'd seen her on TV before or something. She was probably an actress, but he couldn't recall her name. Well, Archie muttered to himself, you might be pretty, but you know Hitomi. Did he just say that out loud? Once more, he broke out into a run. There were a whole bunch of people walking in the direction of Route 246. It looked like folks really couldn't use the trains right now. Was this some sort of consequence of Maria being infected with the UA virus? Then I'd better hurry. We're the only people who can fix this. This is great compared to like Archie's talk yesterday about how oh sure, like there are people suffering, but I'm not just gonna turn down the help of another. And now he's just, no, I'm not dealing with this. She's not pretty enough. Yeah. With another cry to pump himself up, Archie bolted down the sidewalk counter to the throng. Finally, he arrived at SOS's hideout. Two young men were standing by the door as lookouts. Archie recognized one of them. It was the kid whose so-called buddies tried to shake him down earlier that afternoon. They roused themselves up as Archie approached. "Hey, I need to see Susumu." "No can do. He's in the middle of something right now." The lookouts made no move to let him through. Archie felt a surge of resentment towards Susumu. If he'd still been with SOS, he'd never try to post members on guard duty like they were low-ranking Yakuza thugs. Archie pressed again. "Please, I need to see him. It's important." "Just tell him Archie's here. He'll make an exception." The mention of his name, the two lookouts exchanged glances. "Alright, I'll go ask him." One of the lookouts headed inside, leaving Archie alone with the kid he helped out earlier. "Do they always stick you on guard duty?" The boy didn't reply. "Back when I was with SOS, we never needed anyone on the lookout. We were just a bunch of guys who loved Shibuya, and had a fun time hanging out with each other. That's all it was, really." "It's not Susumu's fault the SOS changed," the boy said, somewhat fearfully. "Lately it's been Kiryu who's been driving things." "Shit, it is Yakuza." "Kiryu? Oh yeah, that guy." Archie recalled his earlier run-in with him. The guy was an arrogant bully. And I forget his voice. "Kiryu's planning to steal Susumu's throne." "What for?" The boy took a nervous look at the door before hurriedly continuing. He's trying to expand SOS's influence, and he's got a lot of people on his side. Right now, the gang is kind of split between the two factions, Susumu's guys and Kiryu's guys. Finally, Archie understood what was going on. The gang members had all been acting so weird because they were caught up in some kind of internal struggle. Kiryu goes around recruiting new followers by force, and if he doesn't like you, he dishes out punishment. This month alone, he sent 8 people to the hospital. SOS is a total mess, man. This plan of mine might not work after all. I just felt a sinking sense of despair. If SOS was ravaged with infighting, it was doubtful they'd heed the dangerous request they had for him. Even still, I want to be part of the gang, the boy muttered, and not Archie. Archie peered at him in surprise. "Why? They shake you down for Jews, stick you on guard duty? That's not a decent way to treat someone." "I look up to Susumu. He treats me like he would anyone else, even though I'm way down at the bottom. And it's not just me. Susumu always puts the members of the gang before himself. That's why I want to stick with SOS." Aha. So that's it, huh? Susumu had really been trying his best. And the members of SOS, some of them at least, admired him for it and stuck by him. "Thanks," Archie said. The kid gave him a dubious look. Archie didn't know if Susumu would help him out or not, but he knew it was still worth putting their disagreements aside in order to ask. The door opened and the other lookout returned. "Susumu says come on in." Archie nodded and strode inside. But we're not going to go back to Kano because it's Minorikawa's turn, I think. Watch his just be a straight line with no diversions. Hang in there, Chiaki. Just keep it together. Minorikawa rushed to her side and offered her a hand. "Surely it hardly matters at this point. You're not gonna make it on time regardless," Katayama said coldly. "Yeah, I finished Osawa's story, apparently." "And in any case, if 4-star General Gossip doesn't get released, it's Mr. Toyama who's going to be in trouble, not you." That actually, I didn't even think of that, because like, when you asked me what I'd done so far, I just thought of the 3 people who I knew I was controlling, and I just forgot about Osawa. Basically, he had another crisis about the fact that he can't get the password, but he was speaking to Kano or someone about it, and he spoke to his wife about their relationship troubles. And in any case, if 4-star General Gossip doesn't get released, it's Mr. Toyama who's going to be in trouble, not you. I dare say the world would be better off with 1 third-rate gossip rag less anyway. Shut your mouth, Chiaki shouted. If the gossip doesn't come out, I am going to be in trouble. An article I've written is supposed to be in next month's issue. It's the piece I've worked my very hardest on to the very end. A piece Mr. Mino saw fit to put to print. And so if that goes away, all that goes away, yeah, I'll be in trouble, alright. I don't know how if I could say he solved it. Chiaki's legs wobbled as she struggled to get back to her feet. Chiaki, Katayama said, your zeal is a marvelous thing, worthy of admiration even. But when it comes to work, results are all that matters. I'm sad to have to put it that way, but I must be honest, it's just common decency. He said it again. I don't know how to say it concluded. I feel like they realized that they have a not very functioning relationship, and maybe it kind of depends on what happens with this whole Maria scenario. Kachiyama glanced at his pocket watch. You have 57 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. At this rate, you won't even make it to the interview venue before your time's up. Frankie... I don't think even a further extension of your deadline would make any difference in the end. Damn it! Norikawa ground his teeth. He wondered if he should just leave Chiaki here and go interview SOS by himself. He could expand the article in SOS and work a small part of Chiaki's interview piece in to at least fill the layout. Right now, the single most important thing was getting the magazine out the door for Tiyama's sake. But if he did cut most of Chiaki's copy after all she'd done, he might wind up totally killing her passion for being a writer. I have to stop waffling. Professionals don't let their personal feelings dictate their decisions. I can help Chiaki work through her emotion struggles later. Chiaki, that's enough! The young woman got back to her feet, staggering as she began to climb the stairs. I'm not giving up, she said under her breath. I can't give up now. Though obviously in pain, she struggled to keep her legs moving. Sam, I can't do it. Look how hard she's fighting to stay in the game. I can't tell her I don't need her article now. Releasing the next issue of Gossip wasn't just going to save Toyama, it would save Chiaki as well. Minorikawa couldn't abandon either one of them. Which left him with a hell of a dilemma. He needed to make a decision. If he didn't stop wavering soon, they'd be out of time. But try as he might, he couldn't come up with a plan. Then he heard a familiar voice from behind him. If you're wondering what path to take, allow my taxi to be your guide. I've changed this guy's voice every single time he appears. Norikawa spun around to see Kimizuka standing there. Where to, sir? The driver asked. Despite his polite demeanour, his pride was obvious. Mr. Kimizuka, I appreciate the thought, but there's traffic. Traffic? I see nothing of the sort. Okay, sure, but... Minorikawa was well aware of Kimizuka's capabilities, but the prospect of cutting through this chaos that currently filled the streets was more than a little daunting. When you know this town as well as I do, there's no way you can't go. Alright, what other choice do I have? Guess I gotta trust you. This will be my last question of the day. Minorikawa pointed down the street. I don't know. I guess Inferno? Takes to Inferno in Uruharajuku. Inferno in Uruharajuku, the bar! Kimizuka quirked an eyebrow. Yes, is something the matter? No, nothing at all. Hurry up and get in. As soon as Minorikawa and the others had climbed into the cab, Kimizuka tore through Subaru's network of narrow side streets. This is... what an image. The passengers in the back seat jostled roughly back and forth to the sound of screeching tyres. This is altogether far too excessive, Katayama murmured, wincing as his head bounced repeatedly against the window. To think we allow such inconsiderate driving here in this country. Chiaki, meanwhile, had opened her laptop and was somehow working furiously to finish her copy. The sound of her fingers clicking across the keys echoed within the vehicle. No, this is Crazy Taxi. How's it going, Chiaki? Minorikawa asked. Just a little more. Her eyes were glued to her monitor, her face all seriousness. Kimizuka glanced over at Minorikawa. If I may ask, sir, what business do you have at this bar? Just a little interview. I hear a local gang called SOS uses the place as a big hideout. You're interviewing SOS, so I feel it might be best not to get too involved with that lot. There was something about the driver's warning that seemed a little off. Did your taxi driver's connection tell you what SOS is up to? Minorikawa asked. Originally, there was something of a vigilante corps in the name of keeping the neighborhood clean and safe, but lately I had nothing but bad things about them. Those loan sharks had said something similar. Minorikawa reminded himself that he better be on his guard. Katayama chimed in. And just how do you plan to go about interviewing a gang like this? That's nothing for you to worry about. I have a plan. Oh, and just what exactly is this plan? It's a secret. Katayama gave him a derisive grin. Clearly he wasn't impressed. Minorikawa turned to look at Chiaki. She appeared too engrossed in her copy to even hear the conversation. I realize this is work, Kimizuka said worriedly, but do you really need to take such risks? Yes I do. Minorikawa thought back to the look on Toyama's face. The look when he finally regained his confidence. He couldn't let Heaven Publishing go under. Toyama provided the canvas on which Minorikawa shared his art with the world. Thinking about it now, Minorikawa realized he'd always been chasing Toyama's shadow. Though it was galling to admit, the man had been the ideal Minorikawa strove to live up to. That's why he hated to see Toyama reduced to such a pathetic state. Wait, for Persona 5... Wait. Okay. He wanted Toyama to remain indomitable, to keep busting down and all obstacles in his own peculiar way. Still, Minorikawa wasn't about to voice these feelings aloud. He felt more than a little embarrassed to be taking it all so personally. When you take on a job, you give it 100% every time. That's what makes you professional, he said. Wouldn't you agree? I do indeed, Katayama chimed in. But you have to demonstrate that 100% in the limited time you have left, which, by the way, is 51 minutes and 30 seconds, and I will not budge in the slightest on that submission deadline. Please do keep that in mind. The man took another look at his watch. I've got half a mind to break that thing, Minorikawa told him. Breaking my watch will not stop time. Minorikawa shot him a furious glare, but Katayama's composure was unwavering. Wait. The guy was unflappable, and the only way Minorikawa was going to be able to put him in his place was to meet his damn deadline. Wait, I mean, that's the point of the text, Effie. Easier said than done, though. He'd want to use 30 of the 51 minutes he still had to write his article. They'd only left him 20 or so to get his material. Kimizuka suddenly slammed on the brakes, and the cab skidded to a halt. Hang on a moment. Oh yeah. Kimizuka and Katayama, I'm getting them mixed up. Minorikawa stared through the windshield and in shock saw a smallish boxy minivan weaving erratically along the road. Whoa, look out! That thing's headed that way. Wait, shit. Whoa, look out! That thing's headed that way. Don't worry, sir, the driver replied. Just leave this to me. Kimi is cool. Kimizuka dexterously steered them clear of the oncoming vehicle. As the minivan sped past, an eerily cold breeze wafted over the taxi. Finally, we'll learn what a minivan is. The vehicle is driven by the members of Wandering Angels Theatre Troupe. They're on their way to return the dry machine they used in their performance to Endo Electronics. The machine is malfunctioning and continues to spit out white plumes of carbon dioxide. The troupe members inside the van are beginning to suffer from oxygen deprivation and are driving around Shibuya in a daze. Will they be able to make it to Endo Electronics in time? These guys have had quite a day and we've not watched a moment of it really. What the heck was that? Minorikawa asked. I'm not sure, Kimizuka said, but let's hurry on our way. Nimbly manipulating the gear stick, he stomped on the gas once more. Here we are, sir. It just says Snack K. They'd pulled up outside of a dilapidated old pool hole. You're a lifesaver. Minorikawa clapped her hand on Kimizuki's shoulder. Just be sure to be careful, sir. Minorikawa nodded. Huh? What? Chiaki asked, looking up. Are we being careful about? Nothing, Minorikawa said. You just wait here in the car. You still have the coffee to finish up, yeah? Well, yes, alright then. Chiaki frowned but resumed her typing. And you wait here too, Minorikawa said to Katayama. But of course, that goes without saying. Incidentally, you have 49 minutes and 6 seconds remaining. Minorikawa did some quick mental math. 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 4. That's 3 quick maths. With the half hour he'd already set aside, that left him 19 minutes. However dangerous SOS might be, he couldn't afford to hesitate for even a single second. Bracing himself, he stepped out of the taxi and headed for the pool hole. Phew, Minorikawa took a deep breath as he approached the grimy door. Here goes. He drew his leg back and gave the door a hearty kick. Wait, what's MM? The mob of young men inside the bar turned at the sound of the door crashing open. Who the hell are you? Wait, what? Wait. Oh, right. I mean, I've been doing his voice this whole time. The men... Wait. Several of them started towards him belligerently. Just calm down and hear me out, he said. I've come to interview you. Interview us? What the hell for? These were hot-headed punks, alright. They seemed to be itching for a confrontation. Minorikawa felt like a punch might come flying his way at any moment. Then, another voice called out from further back. Hold up, guys! Shit, I thought it might be Archie. It was a young man seated in the far back corner of the bar. His air of authority marked him as the gang's leader. That must be Susumu then, Minorikawa thought. When you say interview, do you mean for TV? Or like a magazine? Mind telling us who you are? Name's Minorikawa. I'm a freelance journalist. I'm doing a magazine piece about young people in Shibuya. All I'm asking for is just you guys to answer a few questions. Here's the answer to the science question from last time. Methane. Methane has always been tapped as a potential new energy source to replace fossil fuels or atomic power. There have been concerns about its tendency to exacerbate the global warming process. It's extremely flammable. The methane produced by food waste has been known to cause garbage trucks to catch fire. Damn, I thought it was propane. Congrats to those who guessed it on last night's stream. Huh? Susumu sounded less than enthused. Just 5 minutes, Minorikawa said. What do you say? Nah, I'm not in the best of moods right now. Go on, get out of here. Right, Minorikawa thought he's going to make things difficult. But he hadn't expected those troublemakers to just up and accept an offer to appear in print. Now was when the real battle would begin. Guess I'll just have to write my piece without you, then. Susumu took the bait and shot him a look. Right about what exactly? Your little warehouse raids. Warehouse raids? Susumu raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about? Really now? You're gonna tell me you don't know your boys are dealing in stolen goods? SOS doesn't steal, man. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Oh yeah? Why don't you ask those two over there? He spotted the two fellows he'd seen arguing earlier at the scene of the explosion. Now he pointed them out. Their faces betrayed their alarm. Susumu glared at them. Is this true? They averted their eyes and said nothing. I asked you a question. Have you been stealing stuff? After a long moment of surly hesitation, both the young men nodded. You idiots! Susumu marched up to the two and without warning decked them both. How dare you sully the SOS name? As the two gang members cowered, they continued to punch them repeatedly. Okay, then enough with the beatdown. Minorikawa stepped up to intervene. Let's get down to business here. I won't reveal anything about the warehouse raids. In exchange, you give me my interview. How's that? Not a bad deal, I'd say. But Susumu ignored him, continuing his pummeling of the pair. Wait. Whoa, hey, no one's gonna play nice with the guy who flies off the handle and beats on people, you know? What did you just say? Well, look at yourself. You're clearly not the cream of the crop here, kid. And that's... Susumu's fist finally fell still. The rowdy bar went completely silent. Say that one more time, I dare you. I'll put your ass in the ground. The gang leader's eyes were red with rage. Minorikawa snorted, unafraid. Humph! That's the exact sort of line I expect from the total wussies, old bark and no bite. Shut your damn mouth. Get the hell out of here. Not seen on the timeline as when Minorikawa challenged Kiryu and got his ass beat. Oh, this is hilarious. SOS's top dog is such a yappy little puppy. Susumu snarled like an animal. You son of a bitch, I'm gonna beat your ass. Mr. Mina, I'm all finished. An ebullient voice resounded suddenly through the bar, cheerful and full of energy. Originally, the term indicated a state of bubbling or boiling, and so it's effectively a fancy way of describing someone as bubbly. My favourite part is when Osawa was on the phone with Minorikawa and he said, like, you can literally hear the finger pointing at him. Chucky! Minorikawa looked and saw that both she and Katayama had appeared in the doorway. I finished my copy. Would you please look over it for me? She thrust out her laptop proudly. Susumu stared in bewilderment. Who the hell are you? I was under the impression you SOS folks were being interviewed. Chiaki broke off haltingly. Yeah, you're right about that. One by one, gang members started to close in around her. Well, it's just, you look like you're really angry, is all. Oh, do we now? That's because we are pretty damn angry. Good grief, Katayama groaned. It would seem that getting your interview is quite impossible. By the way, you only have another— You shut your mouth! Minorikawa snapped as Katayama peered at his watch. Just leave this to me, you two hurry up and get out of here. No way, Chiaki said. What? Why not? Because I want you to read my copy, Mr. Mino. She looked him straight in the eye. He didn't have much of a choice. He'd postponed the interview to read over Chiaki's copy. Alright, he said. Let me see your laptop. He held out his hand and started to make his way over to her. Is Susumu still, like, holding him? Whoa. Before he could reach her, though, the SOS punks had Chiaki and Katayama surrounded. Wait. Ooh, what's this? Something important. One of the gang members reached out to grab Chiaki's computer. Knock it off. Don't touch that. She struggled to resist. Leave the girl alone, you scumbags, Minorikawa barked. The young man in the bar stopped and turned. Susumu was quick to respond. Screw you, man. Who are you calling scumbags here? Any guy who raises his hand to a lady is a scumbag. If you're looking for a fight, you can fight me. Just get your hands off the girl. Minorikawa did his best to look unafraid as a couple of dozen vicious gazes now turned back on him. Bring it on, Susumu said. Hey, someone stand lookout out front. He snapped his fingers sharply. Get him. At this signal, Susumu's men quickly closed in on Minorikawa. Yeah, this is going well. It was like being caught up in a tsunami. He took a hard punch to the face and then his vision went blurry. Before he could react, he was hit again, twice, thrice, with punches and kicks. The moment his first assailant paused, another joined the assault. 4 blows, 5 blows, 6. Minorikawa lost count somewhere around 30. A metallic taste filled his mouth and he could feel his consciousness fading. All his strength was being battered from his body. He couldn't even tell if he was standing on his feet or lying on his back. Then finally he felt himself crumble to the floor. Even then, the beating did not let up. As he writhed helplessly, the young man kicked him in the gut over and over. Stop it, he heard Chiaki scream. You're going to kill him. Eventually, Minorikawa forced himself to go limp. Finally, the kicking stopped. Oh crap! One of the thugs muttered something panically. Did we take this a bit too far? Mr. Mino. Chiaki rushed to Minorikawa's side, sobbing. Please, she cried out. Answer me. He held his breath and said nothing. Mr. Mino. Tears streaked down her cheeks. She shook him desperately. Don't worry, he gasped out at last, holding up her hand to stave her off. She let out a yelp of surprise, staring at his battered face. He could feel blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He turned his grisly visage on the gang members as he painfully rose to his feet. How could you have spaghetti without, like, immense amounts of cheese, though, is the question. Wah! Abruptly, Minorikawa laughed, broke into peals of mocking laughter. Mr. Mino? Chiaki stared at him, aghast. Wah! He only laughed the harder. It seems he took a few too many blows to the head. The poor thing. Katayama averted his eyes, unable to watch. Wah! Minorikawa shot an accusing finger out at the crowd. Looks like I win this round. What? Susumu blinked, dumbstruck. Do you get it? Minorikawa said thickly around his bruised tongue. What I'm saying is, you're a bunch of idiots. Now, if you'll pardon me. Oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. Minorikawa was halfway to the exit when Katayama's exclamation rang out. You were planning all along to let these guys beat you up, huh? Minorikawa jerked to a halt, his shoulders trembling. You knew they'd turn down the interview, and so by letting yourself get beat up, you'd have something to put in an article, yeah? It's a bit bogus, maybe, but I guess it's one way to get material to fill your pages. Minorikawa broke out into a cold sweat. Shut up, you idiot. But Katayama continued with oh-so-brilliant analysis. I gave this guy the perfect voice. You sure pulled a fast one in this gang here. I wonder what sort of headline your piece should have. The Twilight of Shibuya's legendary street crew. Former vigilante squad, now a mere gang of common thugs. Something like that, maybe. It's it's sort of like a different branch of Byakuya voice, I feel. Susumu stared daggers at Minorikawa. Go on, I dare you to write that up. Then we really will put your ass on the ground. He moved to block the path to the door, clutching a broken beer bottle in one hand. You moron, Minorikawa bellowed at Katayama. I was this close to pulling it off. Well, that's a shame, isn't it? Katayama replied. Minorikawa rolled his eyes. Gee, you think? Susumu slowly advanced on the beer bottle already. Incidentally, Katayama said, you have 40 minutes and 7 seconds left. Good luck. Minorikawa hung his head. Was everything futile at this point? Hopeless, pointless, ineffectual. Not to be confused with feudal, which refers to the socio-political system of the Middle Ages involving lords and vassals of fiefdoms. Thank you, game. Alright. Cool your jets. I'd say that's enough. Do I recognize this guy? Oh, Kimizuka, shit. Susumu stopped and spun around. Kimizuka had entered the bar. The taxi driver stared out sternly from behind his sunglasses. All the young men in the bar fell silent. Minorikawa and his companions exchanged glances. Oh man, you? Susumu's face twisted up in awkward embarrassment. Kimizuka's tone was light and playful, but intimidating nevertheless. Whoa, hey now. That's no way to address your teacher. Teacher, Minorikawa blurted in disbelief. Kimizuka nodded. Yeah, until last year I used to be a teacher, but I got into a bit of a dispute with my school, so I moved on. These guys in here are all former students of mine. Sorry they're such a bunch of good-for-nothings. Wow, Cherokee said. I'd have never guessed. I thought since I wasn't a teacher anymore, it wasn't my place to butt in, but I couldn't sit idly by and let one of my customers take a beating. Kimizuka turned back to Susumu. How is this not the bad ending? Yeah, you got totally decked. This guy totally played every last one of you. Susumu bit his lip in frustration. Still, it's hard to imagine this many people, anyone would want to take a beating from this many guys all at once. So it's hardly your fault for falling for it. Kimizuka had switched gears from taxi driver to street start mentor. You guys lost this one, he said. And for that, you need to give him his interview. No way, Susumu looked disgusted. Sasayama is still in the hospital, as far as we know. Look here, kid, Kimizuka said. Let yourself save some face and help the man out, and maybe you won't come off as a bunch of total idiots in his article. He flashed an amicable grin. Well, When you put it that way, fine, alright. Susumu blew out his breath in resignation. Susumu, you can't just let yourself cave in like that. Shit, it was the other one. The remark had come from a particularly nasty-looking young fellow who'd slouched on the bar sofa. Norikawa recognized him, the kid he encountered earlier that afternoon, wandering around with a wooden cudgel. You shut up, Kiryu, Susumu said. Oh, it's Kiryu. So what, you're just gonna let SOS make a mockery of itself? Kiryu demanded. The gang leader let out an annoyed growl, but said nothing. And you still think you've got what it takes to run Shibuya? Shut up. I've already said I'll do it. Kiryu sneered sullenly at Susumu's outburst. Mr. Mino. Minorikawa was just letting out a sigh of relief at being able to get his interview when Chiaki scurried back up to him. Please, can you read my coffee now? Her face showed a strange mixture of confidence and unease. Alright, he said resignedly. Let me see it. The proving deadline was drawing steadily nearer. Still, if the piece wasn't good enough, he'd have to make her rewrite it again. He wasn't going to compromise on quality. Bracing himself, Minorikawa stared at the monitor. Chiaki swallowed hard, so anxious that it was audible. Minorikawa gave the piece a fast once-over, then read it again once more closely. When he was done, he closed his eyes, considering. Chiaki held her breath, waiting for his response. It's okay. She looked back at him blankly for a moment. Really? It's really okay. Is it really okay? It really is really okay. Minorikawa watched in surprise as she broke down in tears. Thank you so much. Chiaki bowed profusely. This is serious getting a C in year 11 English vibes for me. He gave her an affectionate little ruffle atop her head. She wiped her face in her palms, scrubbing the tears away. So, I guess I never really told you what sort of articles I want to write and all. No, I don't think you have. Well, I mean, I want to write socially conscious exposés like you do, Mr. Mino. And so, to hear you say that an article I wrote is okay, that makes me really, happy, I guess. Or maybe moved? Her eyes were still bright with emotion. Well then, really? It was actually another writer who took inspiration from his work and who strove to be like him. Norikawa never thought a day like this would come. It was a peculiar feeling. Honestly, I never felt like I was being graded in the school. I was just getting the same grades for everything just based on what unit it was. He'd always been the follower, chasing after interviews in order to be more like Toyama. It made him feel both bashful and proud of the skill and soul he'd honed. Might be passed on to the next generation. Like, the big one I remember is, like, literally, like, everyone went tech studies except maybe the one or two students that, like, the teacher was really, like, focusing on their work and they were, like, went beyond the extra mile. They might get a B, but everyone else just gets a C. I should be off. Kimizuka gave Minorikawa a slight nod. Minorikawa returned the gesture, but more deeply. You really have been a tremendous help today. I'm not sure where it would be right now if you hadn't been there for me. No, they're not pity bees. It's just like B is just the high standard. Like, I don't think they did bad work. It's just like it's so hard to get a good grade in that course. Oh no, not at all. I was just driving a customer around to where he asked me to go. Oh, that's right. I still owe you a fare. Opening his wallet, Minorikawa saw he only had a 10,000 yen bill left. Still, there was no time to be frugal. Keep the change, he said, as he handed it over. But even as he said it, Kimizuka was already handing him some money back. Yeah, I insist. The driver had already counted out the exact change in advance. You really are a pro. Minorikawa took the money and stuffed it into his pocket. Yeah, I mean, there should be a bell curve, but I think the teacher just didn't care. We'll meet again, somewhere out there on the streets of Shibuya. Kimizuka pointed an index finger at Minorikawa's face. Minorikawa responded in kind. I also think, like, in Year 11 Japanese, there were only 2 of us, and we were both A students. So, what's a bell curve? After that, the interview with SOS went off without a hitch. Now that the tension was diffused, these guys were just a bunch of ordinary young guys. The juxtaposition of their appearance and behaviour would make for an interesting piece. So, about what you said earlier, Susumu said once Minoru had finished his questioning. I mean, and as well as that, it's not like when you got your TER or whatever they called it in whatever state everyone was in, like, that's not a bell curve, it's a linear, like, path. It's like, everyone's distributed based on their score, and I don't think there's any bias towards, like, the middle. Like, there are just as many people in the 90s as there are in the 50s. Ah, yeah, that. I just said that to get you worked up. Don't worry about it. Yes, it stands for tertiary entrance rank. I got an 87.25. Well, let me just ask you what you really think then. How do you think I could be a better leader? I don't know, I'm not really the sort of guy who wants to stand at the top, you know. But I guess I could tell you 2 things that can make things go more smoothly with you and your buddies. Susumu leaned in, listening intently. I don't even know, like, I mean, it's above average, obviously, but I don't know if it's like, it was a great score. Like, I feel like I should have gone better. Forgiveness and also trust. Noriko chewed over his own words. The events of the day replayed in the back of his mind. He had forgiven Toyama for his fake suicide and trusted that he'd regained his reporter's edge. He had forgiven Chiaki for her bungled interviews and trusted that she'd grow as a journalist. In the end, that's what had helped him through. Forgiveness followed by trust. Susumu grumbled softly. Forgiveness and trust, doesn't sound so easy. People grab towards with someone who can handle things when they get tough. With that, Noriko got to his feet. But also, like, high school was so long ago that it doesn't really feel like a part of me anymore. Now we've got all the arguments we need cut with it. Chiaki rushed over to his side. Well, I guess we still need Mr. Toyama's piece. I just cut off the phone with my office, Kashiyama said casually. It seems they've already received the data from him. Well, what? Guess he really can get the job done when he applies himself. Minorikawa felt an inner surge of pride. Now then, he indicated Katayama. How much time do we have left? 30 minutes remaining, Katayama replied, eyeing his watch. 30 minutes, huh? Looks like we might make it after all. Chiaki, laptop. Right. With a beaming grin, Chiaki held out a computer. Minorikawa got ready to start typing, but then a young man barged into the bar. It's Archie Endo. He's come to ask the members of the SOS to help him with the planned operation down at the Scramble. I was wondering where he was. Are we only just now meeting up with those timelines? The newcomer hurried over to where Susumu was sitting, and promptly prostrated himself on the floor. Whatever this was about, it looked like a big deal. Who was this kid? The gang's feelings looked decidedly mixed. I need people to bring a guy down. I'm here to ask for your help. Like, I mean, my grades were fine until year 12. I just absolutely tanked chemistry and Japanese, and I barely passed both of those units. I know I have no right to ask you this, but please, I really need your help. How far are we in this timeline now, actually? Quarter of the way through. As Minorikawa listened to the young man's conversation with Susumu, he could feel his blood start pumping. It sounded like they were talking about the terrorist plot in which Shibuya had become embroiled. Hey Chiaki, he said quietly, did you hear that national? I did. I'm not sure I follow all of it, but it definitely has the whiff of a major scoop. Minorikawa shot her a daring grin. Source player, Chiaki. We interview him, of course. We only have 30 minutes left, right? So we take 10 minutes for our conversation and use the 20 to write up the piece. I'll help you out. Feeling good, kiddo. Minorikawa ruffled Chiaki's hair again. They both blushed profusely, gripped by a surge of excitement. Wait, why are you doing this? I can't make any sense of it. Whatever. Katayama stood peering at them skeptically. If you write up the piece you just did your interview for, you'll make your deadline. Why go out of your way to trouble yourself further? There's no trouble, Minorikawa said. I'm just doing what a professional does, that's all. Katayama let out a solemn sigh. Good grief. I mean, year 12 is the final year? What else do you have? He looked at the pocket watch again and then snapped it shut. Well, if you aren't concerned about the time, then do what you like, I suppose. I admit, you've made me quite curious to read this magazine you're putting together. Minorikawa and Chiaki rolled their eyes as they turned away. Already they were making their way over to Susumu and his gang. The interviews aren't over until you have what you need. You refuse to let them be over. You spend every last second that you have to do the best job you can. Because that's what a professional journalist is all about. That's what it's all about. Wait, are they ages? I feel like those are ages. Minoru Kara cracked his knuckles and stepped between the two young men. Sounds like your schooling is longer than mine then. Wait, sounds like you got an interesting story. Mind let me hear it too? Have these two met before? Holy shit, already? That was abrupt. Archie and Minorikawa. I did not expect that to end like that. Before we do that, let's choose some other options. Surely I didn't just get these right every time. Oh yeah, that's true. If you count that as meeting. Takes pride in Uro Harajuku. Pride in Uro Harajuku, he said. Kimizuki's raised it. Quick to know. Is something the matter? No, it's just that Bride is a martial arts pub with limited membership, and I happen to know where they've hit their cap. Oh, really? Mr. Mino, Chiaki said quietly. She tugged on his sleeve, but he ignored her and kept talking to Kimizuka. Martial arts pub, he said. I swear I heard that's the SOS again. It's an interesting place, the driver told him. The girls cosplay as anime characters, and the fighting itself is for real. Mr. Mino, Chiaki squeaked, but still he ignored her, bemused by this new information. So it's kind of this place these SOS kids hang out now. Mr. Mino. I guess, I mean, if you want to see someone knocked out and... What is it, Chiaki? Is something that's upsetting you? Inferno. Huh? We want to go to Inferno in Harajuku. That's the SOS place. Inferno. Kimizuka's voice betrayed his surprise. Also, like, just to make it more weird, like, for the record, when I finished high school, I was 16. I used to be young, but then I went on the internet, and now everyone's younger than me. Alright, Minorikawa nodded. Inferno and Uro Harajuku, that was it. Take us there if you would, Mr. Kimizuka. To Inferno, sir. Kimizuka arched his eyebrow even before. Is something the matter? No, nothing at all. Hurry up and get in. I'm guessing these are all the same then? Takes the labyrinth in Uro Harajuku. A complex series of passageways designed to be a difficult or confusing to navigate, a maze. It will indeed be quite easy to get lost or disoriented in the place where Minorikawa is going, and where you're going too. But any maze could be solved with enough effort. All you need is perseverance and wit, though taking frequent notes wouldn't hurt either. Best of luck! No, 16 is not normal. A lot of people are 18. The labyrinth in Uro Harajuku, he said. Kimizuka raised an arrow. Is something the matter? No, nothing at all. Hurry up and get in. Okay, this has got to be a bad end because it's just totally not going to Inferno. As soon as Minorikawa and the others climbed in the cab, Kimizuka tore through Subaru's network of side streets. The passengers in the back seat jostled roughly back and forth to the sound of screeching tyres. Well, to be fair, my birthday's at the end of the year, so I was nearly 17. This is altogether far too excessive, Katayama murmured, wincing as his head rounded repeatedly against the window. To think we allow such inconsiderate driving here in this country. Chiaki, meanwhile, had opened her laptop and was somehow working furiously to finish her copy. The sound of her fingers clicking across the keys echoed within the vehicle. How's it going, Chiaki? Minorikawa asked. Just a little more. I'm just going to skip this bit because this is just all being the same. Wait. If I may ask, sir, what business do you have in this labyrinth? Just an odd entry, a little entry. I hear a gang called SOS use this place as a big hangout. You're interviewing SOS, so I feel like it might be best to get not. Yep, something. This is all the same, basically. Cut. Hey. It's like 17 or 18, I guess. I was a weird exception of circumstances. I do indeed. Katayama chimed in. But you'll have to demonstrate that 100% of the limited time you have left, which by the way is 51 minutes and 30 seconds, and I will not budge. Yeah, I've already read this before. Damn it. Kimitsuki suddenly slammed on the brakes and the car skidded to a halt. Minoru stared through the windshield in shock and saw a smallish, boxy minivan weaving. Yeah, wait. Is headed the same way still? I'm surprised. Like, there is so much. I'm an idiot. I could have just skipped it this whole time. Hey, what? Oh wait, it's still going differently. Wait, you saying secondary and high school are different things? That is... I've never heard that be the thing. I use the two interchangeably. Like, the last 2 of the years that matter, but still. Wait, what the heck? What is this place? Here we go. Minorikawa had come to a pitch-black void. A cold wind blew deep within the darkness. We have entered a screensaver from 1995, carrying with it the sound of a bestial roar. It almost looks like a... Is there a minotaur? A dungeon of some sort, Minorikawa said. Well, I anticipated this much. He pulled a fountain pen from his pocket. It's no good bringing a gear to me if you don't actually equip it, he said. Pen clutched firmly in his right hand. He strode boldly in the darkness. Oh, a branching path, huh? He'd been walking for some time now. Up ahead there was a T that led both left and right, and that sign there looked pretty important. Noriko peered closely at the 4 lines written there. The honest one tells no lies. A liar never tells the truth. One is honest, 2 are liars. See if you can find out what's true. Shit, it's another logic puzzle. Aha! Seeking the truth, huh? That's something I can get fired up about. Noriko decided to go to the right. After making his way along the chilly passage, he emerged into a chamber of about 10 square meters. What is going on? A green cat wore a white sign around its neck. I have whiskers. What's this all about? The green cat also grinned proudly at Minorikawa's inquiry. It's a hint, the cat said. It's saying that whatever it is has whispers. I see. Basically, by getting hints like this, I'll eventually be able to solve some riddle and win the challenge. I can't answer any questions. All you get is what's written here. Now proceed. I don't get to fight you or anything. Nothing of the sort. I'm not much into pain, really. Instead, I'll leave you with a warning. The green cat lowered its voice. I feel like this is going to be a very long section. There's a liar in here. A liar? Yes. The blue cat is a liar. Only the green cat tells the truth. The blue cat is a liar. Keep that in mind and be on your way. I feel like it's deceiving me, but I can't work out how. Like, how does it actually not have whiskers? Alrighty then, see ya. In that, as Green Cat scampered off down the passageway, Minorikawa followed in the same direction. He came to a dead end. There was a large hole in the floor. A ladder extended through the darkness. There appeared to be no other way to continue. Minorikawa headed down. From the bottom of the long ladder, another passageway stretched out. Minorikawa squinted, but it was too dark to see how far the tunnel might go. He could still turn back if it wasn't going the Minorikawa way to bail out after coming this far. He walked onward, never looking back. After a while, he reached another T, a choice of left and right again. Minorikawa went to the right again. Hello. This time, in a room at the far end, another long straight passage, he found a red cat waiting. This one likewise had a sign around its neck. Minorikawa read its message. Fast runner. Huh. He took his pen back out and jotted the words on the palm of his hand. Have you got that? The red cat asked. Yeah, you've got it. Anyway, I'm off. Wait, hold on. Minorikawa called out. The cat stopped. The green cat told me something. It said the blue cat is a liar. Ah, is that so? So, what is it? What about you then? I only speak the truth. Really? Whether you believe that or not is up to you. Anyway, I'm off. Ooh. Using its paws to hold up his floppy belly, the red cat scampered off. Minorikawa followed in the same direction. Came to a dead end. There was a large hole in the floor. Ladder extended. Yep. From the bottom of the long ladder, it stretched another passage. Did you just ping me? Okay. Minorikawa squinted, but it was too dark to see how far the tunnel might go on. He was starting to think it might be a good idea to turn back, but he couldn't bear to give up now. He looked onward, never looking back. After a while, he reached another T, a choice of left and right again. The blue cat stood there, panting raspily. Minorikawa read the words written on its white sign. I'm round. That's right, and it's no lie. It's the red cat who tells lies, after all. Hang on! There are two liars, and this one is lying. That means the yellow cat must be... The green cat must be lying, because one of those two must be telling the truth, if they both... This is... I don't know what to think. I feel like that's the bit I should be paying attention to, though. Because, like, the way I see it, the green cat says the blue cat is lying, the blue cat says the red cat is lying. If the green cat was telling the truth, that's impossible. If the blue cat's telling the truth, that's possible. If the red cat is telling the truth, that's not. So I feel like the blue cat is the only one that tells the truth. Make sure you hammer this hint into your head, okay? I'll be fine. Right, time to move on. But as Minorikawa began to head down the passageway, the blue cat hurried to bar his path. Wait up. You don't need to be in such a hurry. Have yourself a little rest before you go. Sorry, but I don't have time to dilly-dally. It doesn't have to be for very long. But, no, I'm heading off. Blue cat frowned in consternation. You really shouldn't rush so much. It's bad for your health. With a flurry of paw swipes, the cat wiped its signboard clear. Then it scurried away, scowling resentfully at Minorikawa as it went. It's like the bar puzzle in Virtue's Last Reward. Minorikawa followed the same direction. At least that's the way I'm taking it, because I'm not sure what to make of the signboards. Maybe they're not the ones who wrote their own signboards. That's the trick. He came to a dead end. There was a large hole in the floor, and naturally there was a ladder. Minorikawa headed down as a matter of course. So it's kind of like that messy haircut, clean haircut, but he's the one who does the haircuts. At the bottom of the absurdly long ladder was expected another long, narrow passageway. No longer harbouring any thought of turning back, Minorikawa pressed onward. This is a visual novel. Making his way towards the source of the breeze, Minorikawa spotted the light in the distance ahead. Could it be? There was no doubt about it. It's the exit. Minorikawa broke into a full-on sprint. And yet, No matter how much he ran, he couldn't seem to reach his destination. On and on he went, but as far as he could tell, the exit got no closer. You need 70 stars, Minorikawa. Meanwhile, the hallway was getting lower and narrower. Soon the ceiling had descended to just above his head, and the walls had closed until he could touch both simultaneously. For long, he had to turn sideways to continue. Still, he pressed ahead until he no longer had the space to stand. Then he dropped on all fours and crawled along. Eventually, he was forced to rifle along on his belly. Even then, the distant view of the outside seemed impossibly far away. He went on until the passageway was a mere 30 centimeters wide. Scrunching his body up, he forced himself even longer. What? 30 centimeters, eh? Finally, he could see the exit was getting near. It looked like he had maybe 10 more meters to go. Minorikawa stretched him out like an earthworm, inching his way along. And then, unexpectedly, his outstretched right hand thrust through the opening and emerged outside. He felt the warm caress of air against his fingers. Whoa, weather! He thought the exit was 10 meters away, but it was really just 10 centimeter hole right in front of him. He tried to back up only to discover his body was stuck, and there was no way he could go forward through that tiny hole. The only part of him that remained free to move was his hand on the outside. Hey, somebody help! He flipped his hand around, shouting through the opening. Somebody get me out of here! Sometime later, an urban legend spread through Shibuya. A tale of a hand that would appear out of thin air, grab unsuspecting passerby and spirit them away. Onikakushi! What does this do? I thought this was going to be a bad ending. It is. Okay, so I will do this another time, I feel. I would rather press on with the story for the time being. Do I have a glimpse into a young lady's mind? He asked. Look, I'm sorry, but we're in a big hurry here. Don't make me have to repeat myself. Yes, sir. Thanks. Very well, then. Here goes. Dropped an artistic intensity. I want to say it, but I can't say it. I thought today might be the day. But when our eyes met, I felt so cold. I'm wandering alone in the labyrinth of love. Why can't I just share how I feel? Look back my way. No, don't look back. If I do share my feelings, what happens to us then? There's a river we won't be able to cross. I want to wreck things. Is this Kappa Pride? On direct things, I don't want to wreck them. I'm sorry for pretending to be upset. I want to get some distance, but I can't get that distance. I can't get over the phone. I want to forget, but I can't forget. That day, over half a year ago, I was doing such a trivial thing, and yet I treasure it now. I want to say it, but I can't say it, even then if I did. Even if I could. Like a shell caught within a pounding surf, caught and tumbled back and forth. More than friends, but not quite lovers. Not quite lovers, more than friends. Apologies, Mr. Kimizuka. I should have repeated myself. To Inferno and your Harajuku, if you would. Very well, sir. Well, that was an experience. Now I'll just try these ones. Does Archie get a bad ending if Minorikawa is stuck in the labyrinth? There's no time for an ending session. He had to wrap up the SOS interview and fast. Alright, Minorikawa said. I'll read it after I'm done with this. No way, Jackie repeated. I'm not leaving you all by yourself in a place like this. She refused to budge. Enough of the chit-chat. One of the gang members reached out to grab Chiaki's laptop. No, knock it off, don't touch it. She's starting to resist. Leave the girl alone, you scumbags, Minorikawa, but I'm curious about that actually. Oh, okay. Later. trophy. The young man in the bar stopped and turned. Okay, it's the same. You understood, sure, this place was too dangerous. It was time for Chiaki and Katayama to get out of here. Look, you need to leave. I'll give it a closer review later. He gestured to the exit with his jaw, desperately hoping they'd take their hint. Hey, we can read it for you, Missy. SOS members swarmed around Chiaki and Katayama. You writing some smarty novel or something? One of the young men reached for Chiaki's laptop, grinning ear to ear. No, not good enough, don't touch that. She struggled to resist. Alright. Guess we'll continue Kano. Archie's protests were vehement, but he backed down at last. Tatano would escort Kanan and Maria to the lab. The three left to comprehend Alphard. Kano, Stanley, and Archie left to try and apprehend her. Having only 3 people was a dicey prospect, though, so Archie took it upon himself to head out and gather some backup. Tatano got the car keys from Scare. Then he helped Kanan pick Maria off the floor. Kano watched him warily. There was no trace of the blood-curdling expression the older detective had shown when he was holding Maria at gunpoint. His face was that of a man with responsibility, the Tatano that Kano had always known. You sure you're okay with doing this? Hitomi asked Tatano. You might get infected.
That doesn't matter. Don't worry about me. All I care about now is helping you two if I can.
He hesitated, glancing down at the unconscious girl he held.
By the way, have Maria's memories come back?
Oh shit, that's Kanan, isn't it? Or is it? I don't know. Hitomi tilted her head. Her memories?
I suspect she took a blow to the head when she was abducted. When I ran into her earlier, she didn't even know her name.
Well, she seemed the same sister I've always known when she came in here.
Good, then her memory must have recovered.
Kano was shocked to hear that Maria had suffered amnesia, but he explained why she hadn't contacted anyone after she'd been set free.
Alright then, Tatano said. We'll be back.
Carrying Maria, he and Kanan headed for the door.
Detective Tatano.
Detective Tatano. Kano called out and then paused, tongue-tied when Tatano stopped. There were so many things Kano wanted to say. Here comes the Kappa Pride. But he couldn't find the words for any of them.
Once Maria is safe, I'll turn myself in.
Tatano kept his back turned. The words were like a dagger in Kano's heart. Once this was all over, Tatano would no longer be a detective, but a criminal. Kano knew there was no alternative, but still the realization hit him hard. Detective Tatano.
Stop your dithering.
But...
Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever.
Kano snapped his attention at Tatano's words. That was Dick Dictum number 1, the vice that kicked off the whole Dick diary.
I'm not the one you should be worrying about right now, Tatano continued. We need to save Maria Usawa's life and protect the people of Shibuya.
Kano bit his lips. Yes, you're right. Kano did his best to quash his emotions.
Then we're good.
Tatano gave a slight nod, then headed out the door. Detective Tatano. Just before the old man disappeared. Kano called out one last time. Be careful out there. Tatano flashed a hint of a smile, then left the workroom. There were only 30 minutes remaining until the time when Alphard had told them Hitomi should be at the scramble. They needed to get ready for action. Surveillance camera system still up? Kano asked.
Yes,
Daisuke replied.
It looks like what happened before was just a temporary hacking job.
Then will you help us? Daisuke inclined his head.
What do you mean?
I'd like you to keep your eye on the scramble for us. If anything unsuspicious tries to get near Hitomi, let us know.
Anyone suspicious? How will I know what's suspicious?
Like that organ trafficker you suggested you kidnapped Hitomi, Mr. Endo. It's possible he might be Alphard. Would you be able to recognize his face? Daisuke furrowed his brow deeply as he began entering commands on his keyboard.
Yeah, don't think I'd ever forget. It's because of him that I...
He left the rest unsaid. A moment later, several of the monitors switched over to feeds from around the scramble.
Alright,
Daisuke squinted at the images.
I'm not sure how much help I can be, but let me at least try to atone for what I've done.
Of course, and thank you. Daisuke's fingers flew over the keyboard, and soon all the monitors were focused on the scramble and its surroundings. Then he carefully adjusted the angle and zoom of each of the cameras. Now the whole area was under total surveillance. All they had to do was get their stakeout crew to the scene. Where did Archie go? Kano asked Hitomi. I'm not totally sure, but I think he went to find some of his old friends. Hitomi sounded worried. Friends? Archie used to belong to a gang called SOS. Actually, he told me he was the one who formed the gang in the first place. What? Kano couldn't keep up with the shock of his own voice. She was the founder of SOS? How bizarre the two of them would wind up meeting each other this way. But I guess there was a big falling out between them, so I think he went to try to win them back over. Kano hadn't heard anything good about SOS since Archie had left them. If things had ended on bad terms between him and the gang, getting them to help might be a lost cause. And even if Archie was able to gather some people up, how much would Kano and the others be able to trust them? It'll be alright. Everything is be alright, Hitomi said, as if sensing Kano's thoughts. I'm sure Archie will bring back some of his old friends, and when he does bring them, I'm sure he'll choose people we can count on. You really trust him, don't you? Yes, Hitomi said without hesitation. Then a blush came to her cheeks. Alright, then I'll trust him too. It would take about 10 minutes to get to Endo Electronics from the scramble. Kano turned to Stanley. Let's plan to head there up by 6:50. Stanley gave no reply. He had withdrawn to the edge of the room where he stood lost in thought, his expression uneasy. Kano decided to leave him for a bit. Taking a sheet of paper from one of the desks, he began drafting a plan for positioning Archie's reinforcements against the scramble, even though he doesn't know how many there are. Alright, there we go. In about 5 minutes he had drawn up a little map of the optimal places to deploy a team. It included positions for as many as 20 people Archie might bring back. Kano. Kano turned around and surprised to see Stanley behind him all of a sudden. The American looked haggard. Is something the matter? Kano asked. You need to go out to the scramble without me. What? Where's this coming from? What's this coming from all of a sudden? Please, don't ask me to explain. Something else has come up and I have to see to it. Sweat beaded on Stanley's brow. Whatever happened, Kano had no doubt it was something major, and almost certainly had something to do with Alphard. Stanley, Kano said. Please tell me, we're past the point of keeping secrets. They come this far together. Sure it was too late to get all tight-lipped now. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more. Stanley dropped his eyes. Kano had a vague idea of what Stanley was up to. He probably felt he needed to keep things hidden even from his own allies in order to help keep Alphard in the dark. Or at least, that was Kano's guess. Alright, I understand, Kano said with resignation. Do what you have to, and come back soon. With an apologetic look at his face, Stanley turned and hurried from the workroom. We're going back to the Fast and Furious sequence? Kano glanced at his watch. It was coming up on 6:50. Pretty soon they'd have to head for the scramble, but Archie still hadn't returned. We need to head out soon, he said to Hitomi. You said 6:50, she replied. There's still 2 more minutes to go. Kano let a tiny sigh. He shared Hitomi's fervent hope that the reinforcements would come, but not her confidence. If Archie didn't reappear, Kano would be left to protect Hitomi all by himself, and to try to apprehend Alphard as well. Would he be able to pull it off if it came to that? He'd just have to trust himself to see things through on his own. He decided to head to the scramble with Hitomi right away. This wasn't about whether he could or couldn't. He would do it. He had to do it. There's no time for doubt anymore. I have no idea which is the bad one, but maybe it'll not matter. Hitomi, I don't like having to do this, but we can't wait any longer. Seeing the look of determination on Kano's face, she gave a tiny reluctant nod. Or maybe it is something. Well. It's kind of bittersweet that it's just about Kano and Archie again, to be honest. The door opened and the other lookout returned. Susumu says to come on in. Archie nodded and strode inside. You mean the first hour? It's still the first day. The scent of alcohol and cigarettes washed over him. Susumu sat on the sofa at the far end of the bar. It was where Archie used to sit back in the day. What do you want? Susumu asked immediately. I'm trying to see if I can see Minoru Kawa here. Archie walked down to him and got down on his hands and knees. Huh? What are you doing down there? The hell's this all about? I need people to bring a guy down. I'm here to ask for your help. The crowd around him flew up to an uproar. Peals of mocking laughter rang in Archie's ears. I know I've no right to ask you this, but please, I really need your help. Just some guy, huh? Who? He's an international terrorist trying to get his hands on some wonder drug for a killer virus. If we don't catch him, somebody I know is gonna die. And that's not all. He might try to unleash the killer virus here in the city. Susumu burst out laughing. This is some kind of joke. You're right in the head there, Archie. The other gang members followed his lead, unleashing a storm of mockery. But Minoriko was going to save the day because he also knows about it. The laughter continued for quite some time. Finally, Archie had had enough. Shut your damn mouths! He roared loud enough to quash the merriment echoing through the bar. You gonna help me or not? Just give me your answer. He stared at Susumu right in the eye. Susumu leaned in close, peering down on Archie's face. Is that how you go asking someone a favour? Susumu growled menacingly. If you have a problem with me kowtowing like this, I can apologize some other way. All you want. But don't you care that I just told you Shibuya was in danger? Archie's voice was unwavering. But face it, Susumu. Isn't Shibuya the reason everyone... Wait, just face it, Susumu. Isn't Shibuya the reason everyone here hangs out with each other? If you're telling me you don't want to keep the town safe, then I won't ask you guys for anything again. I withdraw my request. If only Keiichi was here, the magician of words. Then, before Susumu could reply, an odd man stepped in between them. Sounds like you've got an interesting story, he said. Wanna let me hear it too? You again. Didn't you already get your interview? Susumu rolled his eyes. I think Grovel's here might be telling the truth. The newcomer's face was all seriousness. It lines up with the information I have. Hey Grovels, you got a second? Name's not Grovels, Archie growled. It's Archie. I'm Minoru Minorikawa, a magazine reporter, and I know a little bit of the stuff you were just saying now. The killer virus you mentioned is called the UA virus. That wonder drug is an antiviral medication, and the person you know might die is Maria Osawa. Am I right? Archie was almost too shocked for words. How do you know all that? Minorikawa ignored him and turned to the SOS leader. Susumu, he said. Something really is going down in Shibuya. What are you going to do about it, boss? Susumu bit his lips. He looked pretty conflicted. Sounds good to me, someone called out. Let's give him a hand. I should turn to see where the voice came from. It was Kiryu. You shut up, Susumu said with a glare. Break out of your rut, old man, Kiryu sneered. Archie here is right. Isn't keeping our beloved Shibuya safe what SOS does? He slipped an arm around Archie's shoulders. You're okay with that, right, Archie? Me going against Susumu's orders to help you out? Kiryu's lips pulled back in a broad, unsettling grin. first, we have unfinished business, you and I. I mean, I'm willing to lend a hand even though you ditched the gang and all, but first we've got to settle our score here and now. You understand, don't you? Yeah, you're right. Kiryu grinned hungrily. It's guillotine time! Oh yeah, what's going on? A bunch of gang members started up an eager clamour at Kiryu's pronouncement. In a matter of moments, Archie was grabbed from all sides and hoisted up onto a pool table. A dozen young men held down his arms and legs, positioning him so his head jutted past the table's edge. Kiryu brought out a steel pipe nearly a metre long. I thought it was a pool cue, apparently not. It was caked liberally with dried blood. Guillotine, 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 guillotine. The men of Kiryu's faction pumped their fists in the air, chanting madly. Kiryu licked his lips as if drunk with their cheers. Glancing one side, Archie saw Minoru Kawa speaking emphatically to Susumu. It looked like the reporter was trying to talk some sense into the SOS leader. Man, today is my lucky day. I get to take the head off of SOS's original head. Archie twisted his neck to peer up at him. Man, what point is taking my head right now? Oh my, you don't get it, do you? See, if I send you to the hospital, everyone at Shibuya is gonna know my name. And once I got that big ass sign over my head, I'll be able to unite this town under my banner in one fell swoop. Kiryu's eyes were crazed and bloodshot. That's all the more reason to do as I'm asking. If you want to unite Shibuya, you have to protect it first. But if you think you need to take my head to do that, then go right ahead. Even if these guys were all like Kiryu, this many of them actually showed up at the scramble, they'd be able to do far more than Archie could hope to do by himself. The ultimate goal was to capture Alphard. Archie didn't care how they made that happen. He was just sorry he wouldn't be able to see it through to protect Hitomi to the very end. Sorry. Okay then, Kiryu bred. The glove's coming off. Go on, do it. Archie braced himself. Just make sure you keep your promise. Kiryu raised the steel pipe high above his head, and then before he brought it down, he flicked the tip of his tongue with his mouth like a snake. I'm not sure what your joke is actually right now. You dumbass, I didn't promise you nothing. Archie strained in sudden panic, but his limbs were pinned down too forcefully for he could have any hope of avoiding what was to come. Who saved him? Ooh. But the steel pipe never struck home. Just when it was about to smash into Archie's head, Susumu grabbed hold of it. The hell are you doing? Enough of this crap, Kiryu. Susumu yanked the pipe from Kiryu's grasp and tossed it onto the floor. Kiryu stood frozen in surprise, a vein pulsed angrily in his forehead. You guys too, Susumu added, glaring at the others. Let him go. The toughs holding Archie down cautiously took their hands away. Kiryu let out a red-faced cry of rage. But we got unfinished business! Ignoring him, Susumu helped Archie slide off the table. Every man gets to make one request in his life that cannot be denied. Do you remember saying that? The words stirred up some bitter memories in Archie. Yeah, I remember. But you didn't grant our requests. No, I guess not. That's why I'm gonna heed yours. No questions asked. Susumu held out his right hand. Susumu, that'll make me a better man, finally. Archie reached out and clasped Susumu's hand in his. Yeah, Archie said, letting his relief show on his face. You're quite the guy. Susumu cracked a tiny grin. It was the sort of smile that Archie had seen all the time, back when he'd run for SOS. Suddenly, Susumu staggered and dropped to the floor, falling too fast even to cry out. Kiryu had snatched the steel pipe back from the floor, striking Susumu from behind once his back was turned. To hell with this, he howled like a madman. SOS doesn't belong to you guys, not anymore. I won't allow it. Archie didn't flinch. SOS doesn't belong to anyone, he said. It's not mine, it's not Sisamu's, and it isn't yours. We're just a bunch of friends hanging out and having a good time. That's the only reason we got together. Get together. Nothing more, nothing less. He turned and looked slowly around the room. Hey you guys, do you all get together because someone told you to assemble? Sorry. You get together to follow someone's orders. No you don't. Of course you don't. I didn't read that right. The bar fell silent. Archie could see the young men who surrounded him exchanging glances. They could tell his words rang true. Kiryu saw it too, and it only made him more agitated. Shut up, enough of the warm fuzzies. Abruptly he charged forward, giving the steel pipe a mighty swing. Archie managed to dodge the attack by a mere hair. If it had connected, the blow might well have knocked his head clean off. He quickly backed away. What's the matter? Kiryu taunted. How come all you do is run? The pipe crashed down to the bar top. Bottles of beer and liquor smashed and scattered. Come on, what's the matter, Archie? Kiryu slammed his weapon on the pool table, sending balls scattering across the floor and clearing two of his opponent's bowls. Some of them collided with Sisamu. Ugh. Sisamu let his faint groan. Smirking at the sound, Kiryu stalked towards him. Speaking of unfinished business, with a gleaming grin, Kiryu took aim at Sisamu's head, lifting the pipe up high. Stop! Before he could ask, think better of it. Archie was rushing for his fallen friend. Yeah, you dumbass! Without missing a beat, Kiryu shifted his weight and swung the steel pipe at Archie's temple. Damn! Archie responded with a fast high kick with his right leg. The steel pipe connected hard with his shin, but it was Kiryu who went off balance. Gah! Archie pivoted and put all his might into a straight right into Kiryu's jaw. The blow struck home. Kiryu's head snapped back and he crumpled to the floor. There was a momentary hush of indrawn breath. Then the bar erupted into a wild clamour that practically shook the whole building. All eyes were fixed on Archie, marvelling at what they'd just seen go down. Sounds like folks were really hoping for more of a fight. Sisamu got to his feet, his left hand clutching his right shoulder. You alright? Archie asked. Mostly. Guess my shoulder took the brunt of the blow. Gang members from Kiryu's faction rushed over to their unconscious leader's side. Archie shot them a steely glare, and they gathered up Kiryu and dragged him out of the bar. I didn't go too far here, did I? Archie asked Sisamu. Is this going to cause trouble for you? No, I figured Kiryu would have pulled something like this eventually. It's just a question of when. Right. I'm sure he's going to gather up his own bunch after this. We'll probably wind up butting heads again. Sisamu didn't sound especially eager for the fight, but he didn't sound especially afraid of it either. Archie was still worried about a few things, but his friend had clearly grown as a leader. Anyhow, back to the story about you needing some manpower. Will the guys here be enough? There were around 30 gang members still in the bar. Archie looked at each of them in the eye in turn. Some he knew from back in the day, while others were fresh faces. I was born and raised in this town. I'm fond of the friends I met here, and this has always been a great place to have a good time. Today, right here in this town, I met someone who's very special to me. And I know this doesn't involve the rest of you, but I'm willing to protect her. Archie knew he wasn't doing a great job of getting to the point, but the members of SOS listened quietly. And so it's like, he felt like a grade school who didn't know the answer to a difficult question. That guy in the front is just here for the mood. He doesn't want anything to do with this. He fussed with his hair and frowned sheepishly. Okay, I'm not really sure how to put this, but Shibuya is a special town to me because of getting to meet people like that. And maybe, no, I mean, it's like that for you guys too. Don't you love Shibuya? So, help me help this town. He bowed low and deep. I want to protect the girl who means so much to me, and the city that means so much to me as well. I know my answers. I know my answer. Sisamu clapped a hand on Archie's shoulder. Listen up, everyone. SOS's original founder's back in action. He needs our help, and I for one am ready to follow him into battle. What do you say? Sisamu's people added a hearty cheer. They're definitely going to be able to convince the child services now. When Archie marched back into his home, followed by the 30 members of his old gang, Hitomi and Kano were obviously overjoyed to see him. Okay, so Kano's choice didn't matter. Their happiness raised their own spirits unexpectedly high. He felt a palpable sense of accomplishment. "Alright, detective," Archie shouted. "Let's do this!" His resounding cry echoed throughout the workroom, the gang set for the scramble. "What's the matter?" Hitomi asked Archie as they made their way out the busy streets. "What's the matter with what?" "You look pretty pale." She peered good and hard into his face. "Do I now?" "Are you tired or something? I mean, you've kind of been going all out all day long after all." "Nah, it's nothing." Archie kept his voice nice and bright. "I'm just a little hungry is all. So don't worry about me or Alphard either, okay? I swear I'll keep you safe, Hitomi." "Alright." Hitomi gave a tiny nod. "Just leave it to me. Alphard's got nothing on this guy." He thumped his chest in a display of bravado, but he could feel the sweat beading his brow. When they reached the scramble, Archie took his place at the location specified by the battle plan Kano had drawn up. Hitomi was only a few meters away. Whatever happened, he was in a good position to shield her from harm. There were 3 minutes left until the appointed rendezvous. Archie wondered what sort of person was going to show up. Still, he knew he couldn't scan the crowd too much. He needed to act as naturally as possible so Alphard wouldn't be suspicious. Even though Alphard has literally seen him in a camera recently. He risked a glance over at Hitomi. Maybe now wasn't the time for admiring, but he couldn't help but think how cute she looked. In some ways, seeing her there felt similar to when he'd first seen her that morning in the very same spot. Gee, I wonder why, Archie. The difference was that this time, it wasn't just Hitomi's good looks that made him find her so attractive. They might have only spent a few hours together, but that time he'd learned a lot about her as a person. He knew what was important to her, what her worries were, her wants and desires. And also, he'd learned what a kind-hearted person she was. Archie recalled what happened back in the workroom. Even though her own life had been in danger all day, Hitomi had shed tears for his father and sister. She really understood people's grief and suffering. "What do I do if I can't protect someone as good as her?" Archie muttered under his breath. His shin was wickedly where the pipe had smashed against it. "Hey, Jim My Jam 100, I have gotten 3 endings now. And I've also discovered a weird labyrinth game. It's very strange. They're not bad endings, so they must be good. He'd been okay walking so far, but any intense fighting in the leg might just give out. He couldn't let himself worry about that now. If it came down to it, he'd be a human shield to protect Hitomi if he had to be. Archie looked at his watch. Only 1 minute to go before 7 PM. He glanced over again at Hitomi and saw her eyes widen with surprise. Quickly he followed her gaze across the plaza. He spotted the tall white man approaching. Holy! Every time. But we'll probably see him very soon because I'm jumping back over to Kano. What if it's Stanley? Bum bum bum! That doesn't make any sense though. It can't be Al, right? Hitomi, I don't like having to do this, but we can't wait any longer. Sensing the look of determination on Kano's face, she gave a tiny reluctant nod. Her shoulders began to tremble. Hitomi, I'll be alright. I'm just a little nervous, that's all. She had the right to be nervous. Alphard was after the antiviral that she had in her bloodstream. Once he had it, Hitomi would become a liability that he wanted to dispose of. And right now, the only person who could keep her safe now was Kano. He clenched his jaw tight and tried to look confident. Please, just try to relax. I'll protect you with my life if I have to. Protecting Hitomi is my job. Oh shit, it's this music. No worries, Jimmy Jam 100. Enjoy your workout. I said I'd see you through to the very end. Didn't I? Yeah, you did. Hitomi gazed back at Archie with grateful reassurance. Ahem. Kennick cleared his throat softly, which now means he'll stop sounding like Archie. But Archie and Hitomi continued to stare earnestly at one another. Eventually the tough-looking young man standing behind Archie spoke up. But we're not quite at the end of the hour, so why is this song playing? I've got 30. Will that be enough? Yeah, Kenna nodded. That'll be fine. More important, have you heard what we're doing yet? Catch the bad guy, keep Shibuya safe. Same old thing we always do. The guy flashed a grin. Also, this extended version of the song is sick. You got it, Kenna said. We're counting on you then. With 30 odd people at their disposal, they'd be able to encircle the meeting area no problem. Preparations were all set. It was time to confront Alphard at once. Alright, Detective, Archie shouted. Let's do this. Kenna gave a firm nod. To be continued. 9 minutes later, 6:59 PM, Kano and the others were in position around the scramble. What happened with Minorikawa though? Each subtle tick of the second hand was like a sharp prod to Kano's nerves. His whole body was stiff with tension. They could not let themselves fail. There was too much at stake. Here, now. Hundreds of thousands of lives were on the line. With Shibuya on lockdown, the area around the scramble had been seized by panic and there had been multiple traffic collisions. Hang on a moment! If Maria collapses in the middle of the day because she has a virus and she's literally going to die, how did she go to another continent? The area around the scramble had been seized by panic and there had been multiple traffic collisions. Sidewalks were crowded with scared people, overturned cars and abandoned motorcycles clogged the streets. Amidst the chaos, emergency vehicles sped by at furious speeds. Fast and furious speeds. But the fire and emergency personnel and even the police were short-handed, and the whole of Shibuya had begun to look like a war zone. The main roads had been blocked to normal traffic, and the trains weren't stopping at the stations. Hilltoppers would be disappointed. In fact, the city was in a state of complete shutdown. Kano glanced again at his wristwatch. 6:59 in 10 seconds, 11 seconds, 12 seconds, 13 seconds. I know a guy you'll have fun with, Kano, if you meet. 14 seconds. He scarcely remembered to breathe. Hitomi stood in front of the statue of Hachiko. She wasn't carrying an attaché case this time, but the moment was otherwise a strange mirror of the stakeout at 10 o'clock this morning. She looked terrified. Kano couldn't blame her. Criminals were after some case full of money this time. This time they were out for blood. Nice photo bomb guy in the bottom left also. Her blood. Kano did a slow scan of the area. Archie was standing not too far away. His companions were strewn about here and there, carrying on as normal. Here in Shibuya, those guys fit right in with the crowd, and they had the area around Hitomi completely surrounded. Yet again, Kano looked at his watch. 6:59, 35 seconds, 36 seconds, 37 seconds, 38 seconds, 39 seconds. He forced himself to take several deep breaths. Focused on the sound of his own heartbeat. Wait, if it's a guy who cares about the clock, it's clearly the guy from the printing company. He's the baddie. He focused on the sound of his own heartbeat and exhaled until all the breath was expelled from the lungs. And then it started. Kano's cell phone rang. I've got him! It was Daisuke, the organ trafficker who devised the kidnapping. It's him! Where is he? Kano asked. Is he close by? I've got him on camera now. He's on the other side of the intersection. Kano looked across the scramble. There were so many people that it was hard to tell who was or wasn't suspicious. Could you describe him for him? The tall foreign guy. The one wearing glasses. The tall foreigner. Kano's eyes drifted over the crowd. That sounds like Stanley again. I saw that. I saw someone. I've seen you before. I've forgotten your name. Aha, there it was. And as he got closer, Kano's eyes went wide. This man was someone he'd met before. Leland Palmer. The lecturer. Did I frickin' call it so long ago? I forgot this guy existed, but I so said he was up to something at the start. The lecturer from the English department at Hitomi and Maria's school. Is he Alphard? Palmer was walking right towards Hitomi. Hitomi didn't seem to have noticed him yet. I don't know, like, if it was obvious, it just seemed like his position in, like, being an early witness to the kidnapping was always, like, that's always suspicious, and especially when you find out the truth of the kidnapping. When Kano glanced back at his wristwatch, it was 7 PM on the dot. When Hitomi realized Palmer was approaching her, she was too stunned to react. He walked directly up to her, the corners of his mouth curling into a smile. "Hello, Hitomi," he said in English. "How are you doing?" "Professor Palmer? What are you doing here?" Hitomi's voice came out in an anxious squeak. "Why, I'm here to take your blood, of course." This time he spoke Japanese and with an easy fluency totally different from his usual manner of speech. "I'm the one who injected you with the UA virus." Wait. Hold on. Oh wait, no, never mind. I was totally forgetting the situation. "I've been waiting so long for the opportunity to arise. It's been quite agonizing, and you know, spending 6 months and more pretending to be a mild-mannered English lecturer." "Professor, you're Alphard, aren't you?" "Let's get down to business." He's quoting Eminem now. "Shall we? Neither of us has much time." Hitomi stiffened. "Please tell me the laboratory password." "After I have your blood. This will only take a few seconds. I've got a device here that'll make the extraction quite simple." "No way, the password first." "That would violate the terms we already negotiated." Hitomi and Palmer glared at one another. "Alright," Hitomi said at last. "Why don't you negotiate with Kanan instead?" "Kanan? Kanan?" Hitomi took her cell phone out and dialed. But the phone rang repeatedly and Kanan did not pick up. "What's going on?" Hitomi's face went pale. "Come on, Kanan." Kano, standing near enough to overhear their conversation, grew increasingly anxious as he watched the pair stare at the phone. What was the right move here? Should he keep waiting? He had to hope talking with Kanan would work out. Kano waited for this call to go for it. The other thing is, like, I think detective novels love... They love to just squeeze in the culprit as early as they possibly can get away with it. But Kanan never answered. Had something happened to them her and Tatano? Kano felt his heart pounding. "Now then, shall I take what I came for?" Palmer took a step closer to Hitomi. Kano reacted instinctively. "Freeze!" He drew his gun and trained it on the criminal. Nearby pedestrians scattered in fear. Seizing the moment, Archie darted in to protect Hitomi. Palmer let out a tiny sigh. "So you're breaking the terms we agreed upon, then?" "I don't negotiate with terrorists." Kano inched his way closer to the point of... his point of aim never wavering. "Hitomi," he shouted. "Call Kanan again." Again, Hitomi dialed a cell phone. Palmer opened the attaché case he was carrying. "One more move and I shoot," Kano shouted. But the terrorist ignored the warning, producing a set of small glass vessels from within the case. "If you want to shoot me, then shoot me," he said. "Assuming you don't mind this getting scattered about." Is that... Surely you don't need me to explain." Stanley was right. Alphard had weaponized the virus. Doing his best to conceal his horror, Kano tried to sound defiant. "How can I even know that's real?" It was entirely possible this was all a bluff. "Ah, indeed. These could all be a fake. Would you care to test that theory?" Palmer flashed a coy smile, holding out his fistful of vials, and he began to tilt them slowly back and forth, letting them clink against each other. They were fake. No, maybe they were real. Kano couldn't quite decide, and he couldn't take any rash action if there were even was the possibility they were the real thing. Did you come out here to carry out a suicide attack, Mr. Alphard?" "Hardly. I have no desire to die here. All I want is to get a little of this girl's blood, and I will then go quietly on my way. But that all depends on you, doesn't it?" His face was overflowing with confidence. Kano couldn't shake the feeling that something was off here. Something about this man's demeanor hinted at something. Well then, what will it be? Palmer continued. Will you condemn the people of Shibuya to death? Cursing inwardly, Kano lowered his gun. Palmer flashed a triumphant grin, then resumed his stroll towards Hitomi. She's frozen on the spot. Susumu! Susumu! The shout had come from Archie. In an instant, a dozen members of SOS headed towards Palmer from all sides. I'm getting motion sickness from this camera shot.
Tough luck, pal, Susumu said. Turns out we're not actually innocent bystanders.
What a line. Now it was his turn to grin.
You're completely surrounded. Give us up and tell us the password now. And just a record, we ain't scared of no virus.
Tough-looking young men radiated bravado. Without hesitation, they closed in around the kidnapper. Surrounded? You certainly don't look like the police. Palmer cast a bemused glance around himself. You're right about that, Archie said. I mean, just take a look. I gathered a bunch of people who love Shibuya more than their own lives in order to take your ass down. He kept Hitomi shielded behind him while he spoke. There's no escape, he declared. You've lost. Lost? Me? Well, it sure doesn't look like you're gonna get away. Palmer grimaced at Archie's word. I see. It appears our negotiations are at a close.
Now for the high and mighty act.
Susumu stomped aggressively towards Palmer. Hey! Kano snapped. Easy now. They couldn't risk a scuffle sending the virus crashing to the ground. What a shame. Palmer swung his right arm up high. We've got more than enough people for this. This is a cool shot also. Everyone watched in dismay as his hand shot up. The vase being held sailed up against the backdrop of the evening sky. Look out! Archie shouted. Catch him! Catch him! A tremendous blast blew Kano off his feet. As he crashed to the pavement, searing pain shot through his entire body. He knew at once the bomb had gone off. But why? It didn't make any sense. Alphard had no intention of carrying out a suicide or terror attack. Ayakamaki just, when Ayakamaki enters the scene, like, bombs are dropped. Kano was certain of that. If it had been his intent, he could have just done so at any time without going through the trouble of putting on this whole charade. But for some reason this guy would blow himself up under these circumstances at this specific moment. As he lay dying, Kano had a thought. Could it be? Had Stanley not come to the scramble because he knew this was going to happen? What? Excuse me? I had 2 jump starts, didn't I? Okay, just one more. I feel like those are the same thing. Was this guy Alphard? The man arrived in front of Hitomi and began speaking to her. Hitomi, Maria, even Archie's father, this must be the guy who was responsible for everything. Archie felt a pressing urge to flatten him right then and there. Still, he knew he couldn't blow his cover until Kano gave the signal. Suppressing his raw emotions, he readied himself for action.
I have to set aside my hatred. Right now I need to focus on catching this guy. Why hasn't happened yet? Why hasn't Kano given the signal?
Freeze! Suddenly Kano rushed forward, his gun drawn. Ignoring the pain in his leg, Archie dashed for Hitomi as fast as he could. He cut in between Kano and Alphard, quickly pulling Hitomi out of danger. Hitomi! Kano shouted. Call Kananagan! Shielded by Archie now, she brought up her cell phone and dialed the number. But Some time had passed, there was no answer. Had there been some kind of trouble at Kanan's end? Increasingly worried, Hitomi tried calling several more times. Then Alphard withdrew some strange vials from the attaché case he brought. Kano's face wavered with an alarm. This had to be a terrorist trump card, he thought. Kano and Alphard were having some sort of debate. Kano couldn't hear the specifics, but tensions were clearly running high. Kano hesitantly lowered his gun. Alphard flashed a haughty, confident grin. Looks like it's time for our trump card. Sisimu! Archie shouted at the top of his lungs. But as a single, the gang emerged from him. Crowd moved en masse to hem Alphard in. Surrounded? Now the terrorist was visibly at a loss. You certainly don't look like the police. You're right about that, Archie said. I mean, just take a look. I gathered a bunch of people who love Shibuya more than their own lives in order to take your ass down. As he spoke, he made sure to keep his Hitomi shielded behind him. The pain in his leg was getting worse and worse, but he tried the utmost to not let it show. There's no escape, he declared. You've lost. Lost? Me? Well, it sure doesn't look like you're gonna get away. Alfred grimaced at Archie's words. I see. It appears that negotiations are at a close. Why did he seem so confident? Something definitely didn't seem right. It's just a bluff. He knows he can't get away. His only chance would be to try to spread the virus around and then take it off, while everyone was distracted, which meant they needed to grab the guy and be done with. Enough of this almighty action, Sisumi shouted. Evidently, he shared Archie's opinion. He began to stomp towards Alphard, but he didn't reach him in time. But this time we'll catch them. The vials in Alphard's hand went sailing into the air. Look out! Catch him! Catch him! Archie gestured for his comrades to fan out across the open space. Where was Ayakamaki though? Then out of nowhere, a huge explosion blew Archie clean off his feet. His eardrums ruptured, and his world was engulfed in an eerie silence as if time had stopped. As he lay crumpled on the pavement, the one thing that still rang in his ears was the tinkling of glass as countless vials smashed on the concrete. So we started at 64 and goes to 79, I guess. So that's 65, and there are quite a lot of endings in the middle of these. Interesting. Maybe Stanley's numbers go in the middle of the two. He doesn't really care if he survives. No, he was going to unleash the virus, accepting that it would kill him too. Alphard met Archie's eyes, and seeing the haunted realization that the terrorist flashed wicked and triumphant. Enough of the higher 90 max. Sisumi shouted. He started stomping towards Alphard. He didn't reach him in time. So I guess we need to find an earlier Stanley jump or something. At this point, they couldn't count on Kanan anymore. Kanan rushed into action. Freeze! Kanan drew his gun and trained it on Palmer. Nearby pedestrians scattered in fear. Well, that's the same. Wait, I'll keep going until we get to the other one. You can't let us lose here. Well, Archie's still getting the same bad end, so this probably didn't change anything. And why is that? Because if you do, you'll be infected too. True, but so will all the innocent bystanders around us. A thin smile crawled across the farmer's face. Did you come here to carry out a suicide attack, Mr. Alphard? Hardly. I have no desire to die here. All I want is to get a little bit of this girl's blood. Yep. But wait, do we have a different jump now? Nope. Stanley Kano said, I understand. Do we have to do and come back soon? Wait, this has changed the timeline. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more. It's alright. I'll find a way to get by. Kano had a vague idea of what Stanley was up to. He probably felt he needed to keep things hidden away from his own allies in order to keep Alphard in the dark. At least that was Kano's guess. This is no ordinary opponent they were up against. Keeping secrets among friends wasn't necessarily a bad call. Kano, promise me one thing. What's that? Once this is all over, you'll go have a beer with me. Sure, alright. Kano couldn't help but smile. That's a promise now, remember. The promise these two made just now mirrors another made by a certain pair of brothers in the past. Once this is all tidy up, I'm gonna need a drink. Let's you and me have a beer together. That was what the younger brother said, and the older brother still feels the pain of that promise going unfulfilled. Oh? We can't go to him at that time either? And with that, Stanley hurried towards the workroom. When can we jump to Stanley? Kenna glanced at his watch. It was coming up on 6:50. Still got the same bad end. Maybe we have to go even further back for it? This won't change anything, I feel. No, he'd never be able to do it on his own. He decided to wait for Archie, accepting they'd be late. The clock kept up a steady ticking. With each minuscule movement of the second hand, Kano felt the tightness growing in his chest. A minute passed, 2 minutes. Time was of the essence. They couldn't keep waiting any longer. Tommy, I don't like having to do this, but we can't wait any longer. Seeing the look of okay. Well, I know one thing I can do. We can see what happens to their timelines if Minorikawa isn't there. Or does it just block them off? It just blocks them off, okay. I know that bit. Kano still wanted to express his regret for how things turned out for his idol. You really are a terrible policeman, you know. Tatano gave him the bare hint of a smile, then headed at the door of the room. And as Kano watched him go, he realized he really didn't have anything to say. There are only 30 minutes left until the time. Kano gave him a silent salute. It was a breach of protocol to salute while in plain clothes and without his cap. Still, it was the best way he could let Tatano know how he felt. I'll leave the rest to you. Tatano took one last look over his shoulder before finally leaving the workroom. Okay, so I accidentally got spoiled ages ago, like a week ago when I was looking for those bad endings, that Tatano was a playable character at some point. I didn't know Stanley was, but I knew Tatano was. Kyozo Tatano gingerly flexed his right elbow. It was still a little sore, and it shouldn't interfere with his ability to drive. Does that hurt? Asked the girl called Kinan.
No, I'm alright. Good thing I didn't kill you, she said.
Her tone matter of fact.
You ought to thank that younger detective. If you hadn't stopped me, you wouldn't be here right now. Is that right?
Tatano looked over at Kano. Hang on, wait. Let me just fix up before I continue with Tatano's line. I'm just impressed that on my first run through this, I didn't once, like, I missed both the Tatano and the Stanley calls. Tatano looked over at Kano. He was talking to Archie and the others about something. The last time Tatano had seen Archie had been in the back at Katone's wake. He felt a strong surge of emotion seeing how the boy had grown into a fine young man.
Sure you don't mind driving?
Kanan's voice snapped Tatano back into the moment.
Yes, it won't be a problem.
Back when she'd attacked him on that rooftop, she'd moved too quickly for him to even get a glimpse of her face. Shit, Tatano and Osawa are going to be in the same room, and I'm going to hate voicing a conversation between them. Now that he was able to get a good look at her, he was shocked by how young she looked. And yet there was a cold gleam in her eyes, a glitter of awareness with no trace of emotion behind it whatsoever. In his long career as a detective, Tatano had seen eyes like that before. His look he knew too well. The look of someone who had killed and had done so many times. I'm so sorry about all this. Please look after my sister, Hitomi said. He bowed deeply.
No, I'm the one who should apologize.
Tatano would have liked to go on to say that helping was the least he could do, atone for earlier, but he'd stopped himself there. Nothing he said to Hitomi Osawa could possibly earn her forgiveness. Silently, Tatano lowered his head. His subsequent actions would have to make up for his crimes. He had to hope this was possible. Kanan, you look after my sister too. Hitomi bowed once more.
You two know each other?
Yeah, we're sisters. Tatano looked at the two girls in surprise. Kanan is my sister's friend, Hitomi said. I just met her for the first time today. What strange series of events could have transpired for Maria and Kanan to wind up as friends? Tatano felt a prickle of curiosity, but now was not the time for that conversation. Daisuke reappeared. He had gone to fetch his car keys. You know where it's parked, yeah? He asked.
Same as back in the day?
That's right. Over where we used to hang out with Katone back in grade school. All at once, Tatano was hit with a surge of childhood memories. The sky was a piercing blue. The droning of Higurashi echoed in his ears. A refreshing breeze brought back intermittent respite from the heat. It was 1983. During summer vacation, it might be in June, it's in summer, they spent their days here in the parking lot behind Daisuke's house. As Tatano and Daisuke played near the stairs at the side of the lot, the blazing sun beating down on them, Katone would always come along with some iced barley tea for them. The two boys would race to see who could drink theirs up the fastest. The cold and fragrant tea flowed down their welcoming throats. Most of the time, it was Tatano who would finish first. Daisuke often wound up choking and spitting his out. Katone would flash him a motherly, sympathetic smile. Then Daisuke would grin back at her sheepishly with fuss in his hair. That had all been nearly 40 years ago, but Tatano could envision their smiles as vividly now as ever. They were his only fond memories of his childhood. I was just thinking, like, they literally do this at Watanagashi. Tasuno took the keys from Daisuke, clutching them firmly in his fists.
Alright, he said. We'll be back.
He lifted up Maria and, with Kanan supporting her on the other side, began to head for the door. Then Kano called out to him. Detective Tasuno, There was a look of sadness on the young man's face.
Don't let yourself become a detective like me.
Tasuno had the words right on the tip of his tongue, but he swallowed them right back down. Something seemed petty to trivialize the aspirations Kano had held for so long.
Once Maria is safe, I'll turn myself in.
After he made sure that Maria had got to the laboratory, he would cease to become a detective and be said simply be a criminal. In Japan, a charge of plotting to commit the crime of murder carries a prison term of labour of not more than 2 years. Despite the failures that had brought him up to this position, nothing had been said up until now had been a lie. Of that much he could be proud.
Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever.
He could at least try to be the detective Kano would admire until the very end. As Tasuno left the room, Kano saluted them crisply. Ordinarily, a detective wouldn't salute plainclothes or without his cap. The little breach of etiquette just showed all the more clearly how Kano felt. If Tasuno hadn't been holding Maria up, he would have returned the gesture. Aww. Kappa pride. Spaccato? Supercargo. Supercargo. Okay. Leaving Endo Electronics, Tasuno and Kanan carried Maria up a hectic Dogenzaka. The parking lot was less than a minute away by foot. Before long, however, they found their way blocked by a veritable wall of people. It was a riot squad with Kuze at the head. I can't believe Kuze actually is in more than one place. A police squad that carries out security and control activities in order to maintain and restore public order and event of emergency. The Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department has 9 riot police units, along with support vehicle units, for a total of 10 such squads. These also comprise of teams that carry out certain specific functions, such as the Explosive Ordnance Division and the Chemical Defense Unit. Hey Alex, how's it going? I accidentally slept like 10 hours. It was an accident. Which is not any better, to be honest.
Director Kuze.
Tasuno, what are you planning that girl?
What are you planning on doing with her?
I already informed Kano that she'd be put under quarantine. If she's allowed to remain free, all Shibuya will be in danger. Kanan took a step forward. Tasuno could sense that she was about to move in for the kill.
Easy now, he said softly. Wait.
As skillful as Kanan was, she was no match for the entire armed police squad. Like, I had a dream that I looked at the clock and it was like 12:45, but then I actually looked at the clock and I saw it was like 10:45, but then I slept 2 more times after that and it really was 12:45 and I got out of bed.
I'm not going to take them all on, she murmured. I'm just going to take the man charge hostage.
You got that level up, right?
I can't... Tasuno swallowed. Capture Kuze, then run off. It could work. Considering the time limit they were facing, he knew that they had to find some way to force their way through here.
I sadly broke my 18 win streak in Invictus tonight. Still, given how far they'd gone to reach the laboratory, he wanted to avoid direct conflict as much as possible.
Give me 1 minute. No, just 30 seconds.
Tasuno turned and stared back at Kuze. The two had known each other since their rookie days.
Director Kuze, tell me, what is it you plan to believe in?
The sad thing is, I killed myself and I might have been able to win it because I switched into an eyepiece and I didn't realise that switching into the eyepiece kills me because like of how the garbage was at the top line of my board. I could have had a combo going if I just placed the other piece instead.
What do I believe in? Yes. Weren't you always the one who said that you needed to put faith in your subordinates no matter what?
Well, yes. Yes, that's right. Kuze's eyes wavered ever so slightly. In that case, put your faith in me. No, put your faith in Kano. Kano? He believes that saving Maria Osawa will help us save Shibuya. He's doing everything he can to make that happen. Kuze's lips curled into a wry grin. That sounds like Kano, alright?
always thinking in such simple terms. Usually the simple answer is the right one, sir. People like you and me overthink things. We make them more complicated than they need to be. Just consider for a moment. We're putting Maria Osawa under quarantine to clear up this case? No, it won't. As long as we don't know how she was infected with the virus, we can't rule out the possibility that other people have been infected as well. Tatano kept his eyes locked on Kuze's. Director Kuze, right now what we need to do more than anything is get our hands on that antiviral drug. We need to be helping Kano. Please, sir. Kuze furrowed his brow in thought for a few moments, then shook his head. Tatano, buddy, come on, I can't do that. You gotta understand the position I'm in. The director's voice squeaked into his childish register. Kanan narrowed her eyes. What's this guy's deal? She whispered. It's hard to explain, but when his voice gets light, it means... He was confused. Now was their chance to make a run for it. Tatano signaled with his eyes to Kanan, then got ready to sprint past Kuze over the scene. Pretty sure this means he's serious, but I'll see what happens. He didn't get the chance to, though. Ugh! Suddenly Kuze let out a pained yelp. Wait, then as Tatano watched in surprise and proceeds to collapse on the pavement. It hurts! It hurts! Have I been infected with the virus too? The riot squad immediately rushed to the director's side. As Tatano stood there dumbstruck, Kuze secretively flashed him a knowing wink. That was a terrible performance, Cam muttered. Yeah, but it was a tour de force as far as I'm concerned. Inwardly, Tatano gave his boss a nod of respect. Slipping past the riot squad, he and Kanan headed for the parking lot. Several members of Kuze's team hurried to chase after them. Don't follow them, Kuze cried out as he arrived on the ground. Everyone, stay back! If you get too close to Maria Osawa, you'll be infected as well. The riot squad stopped in their tracks. Tatano and Kanan took the opportunity to hurry out of sight. Darting through some narrow alleyways, they arrived at a parking lot. The area had changed since Tatano's youth. There used to be paradise, but some of the old air of nostalgia still lingered. There it is. He spotted the minivan with Endo Electronics written on the side. Tatano gently laid Maria on the back seat. She was apparently unconscious. Once Kanan had climbed into the passenger seat, Tatano hit the gas and sped off. How far is it to the lab? Kanan asked. Normally it would take about 15 minutes, but with this traffic it's hard to say. Tatano avoided the stop and go of Doganzaka, taking side streets as he stepped towards Shibuya Station. But wait, I can't believe we're controlling like 4 different people and 3 of them are cops. And one of them is like an environmentalist cop in a sense. Once they had re-emerged in the main throughway, however, he spotted the checkpoint up ahead. Barricades and armoured vehicles were blocking the road. The scale of the security effort showed just how grave the situation truly was. Tatano hit the brakes. What do we do? Kanan spoke without taking her eyes off the barricade ahead. Tatano thought for a few moments before arriving at an answer and realising I had the wrong voice. They'd have to plough that on through. Get in the back seat, Tatano told Kanan. Why? I want you to hold on to Maria so she doesn't fall. A feisty grin came to Kanan's face. You got it. Kanan quickly clambered into the back and Tatano gunned the accelerator. It's do or die now. Tatano clenched his teeth as the man picked up speed. Then a patrol came rolling out of the nearby side road. This is Stanley. What the? Reflexively, Tatano eased up on the gas. The police cruiser in front of the minivan turned to head right towards the roadblock. Crashing into the barricade, it ploughed through, not stopping until it slewed up the curb beyond. The car's impact had enough space for another vehicle to slip through in its wake. Alright, here goes. Minivan barreled on through the checkpoint. Tatano wondered who in the world had been driving the cruiser. It's gotta be Sam. Tatano's phone rang and he picked up as he sped on. Were you able to break through this safely? Wait. Were you able to break through safely? It was the voice of Detective Kajiwara. Tatano had thought he was at the Osawa residence. That patrol car just now. That was you? A call came in from Task Force HQ saying that Kano had found Maria. I figured maybe Kano was planning to take her to Okoshi Pharmaceutical, and so I thought he'd need to make his way through one of the checkpoints here. But the fact is that it was you, Detective Tatano. Haha. Now that was quite unexpected. He let out a weak chuckle.
Kajiwara, are you hurt?
No, don't worry about me. Just please help Maria. I made a promise to her father that I'd save his daughter no matter what.
Satano could hear the energy draining from Kajiwara's voice.
Understood, I'll keep that promise for you then.
Thank you.
The line went dead. Kajiwara is a legend. He crashed headlong through the barricade. There was no way he'd come out of that uninjured.
I'm sorry, Kajiwara,
Satano said to himself under his breath.
and thank you.
He bit his lip and stepped hard on the gas again. I wonder if the Stanley jump works now. We can! It was 6 o'clock PM. That's a weird way of saying it. Alphard had contacted the motley crew at Endo Electronics and the situation had immediately deteriorated. But the new developments had also provided them with one big chance. A chance that Alphard may appear in person at last. Wait. You did fine. Jack Stanley set his hand on Kano's shoulder. A weak smile came to the detective's face. Stanley paused, unexpectedly moved. For that one moment, he saw in Kano the image of his younger brother Frank. Wait, Jack, you have to get everyone to a safe place right now. Frank's nervous shout echoed through the hotel lobby. Stanley's younger brother was a member of the Bomb and Arson Squad, subsection of the Chicago Police Department's Bureau of Investigative Services that handles investigation of bomb and arson-related cases. This was 2 years ago. The CIA had obtained intel that Alphard was targeting a high-class hotel in Chicago for a terror attack. Stanley and his team had searched the hotel interior and discovered the bomb set inside a large planter. When Frank arrived at the scene and saw the explosive, his expression grew dim. The detonation trigger's set in the worst possible place! It's gonna be a bastard to remove it! In that case, you need to get out of here too, Frank, Stanley said. No, I need to make sure I can figure out how this thing is set up so the disposal unit knows what to do when they get here. I'll be alright. Look, you can probably see it from back there. Stanley could indeed see the small explosive from where he stood. It was held in place by several screws. The timer had just ticked down past the 30-minute mark. There's plenty of time left for the disposal guys to get here. Wait. Jack, I need you to finish evacuating the building. There are lots of people who haven't gotten out yet. But, Stanley hesitated. From a cold and logical perspective, Frank was right. He had a job to do, and if Stanley had listened to his personal feelings and tried to usher his brother out there, a lot of innocent people might die. Alright, he said. I understand. Yeah, if we had to do something as simple as... No, had something as simple as dry ice, we could just freeze this thing. Dry ice, you say? Frank grimaces eyed the bomb. Dry ice, huh? I don't suppose ice cream would do the trick. That'd be a waste of ice cream. You'd be better off just eating it. Of course, even dry ice would be a long shot in place of actual liquid nitrogen. The brothers looked at one another in a moment and the tension dissolved into laughter. Alright, Stanley said, I'll be back. Hey Jack, once this is all tidied up, I'm gonna need a drink. Let's you and me have a beer together. Sure, you got this. Stanley headed for the hotel lobby, which was still overflowing with guests. You made the right choice here. Stanley gave Kano a thump on the back and the detective cracked a tiny grin. What about my choices though? That's a very meta statement, actually, he's saying there. Debating his own next move, Stanley stepped away from the others and took out his cell phone. He made a call to his superior, Gordon. It's me, he said. What's the situation? I hear the Japanese police want to put Maria Osawa under quarantine. I'm assuming that's on your orders, sir? It is. There are too many important people in Shibuya. We can't allow that virus to get loose. Besides, we know that Alphard is after Tomi Osawa. There's no reason to leave Maria large any longer. Wait, I'm guessing that's a Half-Life reference, but I don't know it. Or is that? Oh yeah, Gordon. Sorry, yeah, I'm dumb. But he can't be Gordon Freeman. He's talking. If you put Maria Osawa under quarantine, she is gonna die. I know that, but there are far fewer victims as a result. Gordon's words made something inside Stanley snap. At the moment, he lost any inclination to report that he was with Maria. Failure to do so would be a dereliction of duty on his part. He knew that well enough. He knew it, but the fact couldn't overcome his revulsion at Gordon's callous attitude towards Maria. Victims are still victims, he said. What was that? Nothing, sir. I'll continue my operation to apprehend Alphard. Stanley hung up the phone. He didn't care if his superiors took action against him once it's all over. They intended to sacrifice one person in order to save the lives of countless more. Trolley problem. From a purely objective standpoint, it was the right call. But what if that person was a loved one? What would they have done then? The dilemma gnawed at the back of Stanley's mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that it was wrong to just accept the lesser of two evils, to sacrifice an innocent for the greater good. No, damn it. He would save that one life, and that'd save the lives of many. He needed to find a way to avoid the so-called easy way out, no matter what it took. He wasn't about to add a second big regret to his life. Not this time. Saving Maria was the right thing to do. His judgment wasn't wrong of that. He was sure. He reaffirmed that to himself inwardly over and over. Kano was watching Tatano prepare to depart. The group had put together a reasonable plan of action. Tatano and Kanan would head to the lab of Maria and attempt to get the eye of antiviral for her. Stanley would accompany Kano and the others to the scramble to apprehend Alphard. It was a two-pronged attack plan, of course. Still, could they really count on things going as smoothly as Kanan had suggested? Stanley thought back on her earlier words. Once Alphard has made contact with Tomi, call my cell phone. I have plenty of information Alphard might want to bargain for. I can negotiate with him directly. That meant that getting the password hinged on whatever deal they struck. What sort of things might Alphard request in exchange? Stanley cast a thoughtful look at Kanan. She was helping Tatano to carry Maria out of the room. Stanley doubted she'd answer if he asked just what her bargaining chips were. He held his tongue, watching as she left with the others. Whatever else happened, he needed to focus on capturing Alphard. He glanced at the monitor displays in the workroom. The disembodied sound of Alphard's voice from earlier crept back into his mind. I will appear at the rendezvous in person. After all, it wouldn't do for the star of the show to miss the final curtain. Those words notwithstanding, it seemed absurd that Alphard would actually show up in the flesh. Nationality, age, sex, so much about the terrorist mastermind was shrouded in mystery. Why would someone who had hidden so well for so long reveal their true identity? I was in the mood to do the distorted voice, and since we kind of know who Alphard is, I sort of like did the middle point between them. And yet Alphard had gone out of the way to claim it was precisely what was about to happen. It almost seemed like he'd made a point of turning in person a major selling point of the deal. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you then. There was no doubt about it. Alphard wanted them to expect him on site and in person. So why would that be? He's using himself as bait to lure me and Kanan out. This is a near perfect opportunity to wipe out the two people who are gunning for him the most. That being the case, how might he be attempting to kill me once I'm at the scramble? Stanley felt a sudden flash of insight. No, something was off here. His thought process was running well, each deduction logically following from the last, but at a time like this, that could very well be a dangerous thing. But he does it. Alphard may well have anticipated where his logic would lead. Stanley needed to assume that any clue he'd found was something Alphard had left on purpose. So maybe the suggestion that their target would come to the scene was a different kind of trap. At the risk of sending himself in circles, Stanley decided to rethink the whole case from the ground up. What was the single strange part of this whole thing? Aha! There we go. There we go. Why had Alphard put an amateur like Daisuke Endo in charge of the kidnapping? Sure, being able to get a heart for his daughter gave Daisuke a strong incentive, but there had to be a reason why he'd been chosen. If the kidnapping had failed, what would have happened then? Of course, this was Alphard they were dealing with. Maybe the possibility of failure was somehow part of the plan. Hell, Daisuke even managed to accidentally kidnap Maria instead of Hitomi, didn't he? If Alphard had gone with a professional, that sort of mix-up would never have happened. And yet, even that degree of uncertainty was acceptable, or even desirable. Using Daisuke seemed like far too big a risk. There must be some other motive for bringing Daisuke into the plan. Of course, advantage. Using Daisuke must have provided some important advantage that outweighed his flaws. It was the only thing that made sense, which meant the reason Alphard had Daisuke to carry out the kidnapping was... this seems wrong, but I'll pick it. To keep his true identity secret. Alphard needed someone completely unrelated to him. A stooge like Daisuke, who, even if they were arrested, wouldn't be able to lead the way back to the mastermind. Was that what the thinking here? No. The fact was, as soon as Daisuke was caught, he spilled everything about the organ trafficker. It was a predictable weakness that Alphard must have anticipated, so why had Daisuke been chosen? Stanley felt he was right back where he started. If Maria hadn't been mistaken for Hitomi in the first place, the situation wouldn't have gotten nearly so complicated. That was the thing that really made him wonder. Daisuke may have been an amateur, but would he really have made such a rudimentary mistake when his daughter's life was on the line? Stanley decided to take it up with the man himself. Mr. Ando, let me ask you something. Did you know Hitomi had a twin sister before the kidnapping?
I didn't know.
So when did you find out?
After I had Maria kidnapped, the organ trafficker took one look at her and said I had the wrong girl. Said I was supposed to have abducted the younger one.
He never mentioned Hitomi having a twin sister before this all started?
No, if I'd known I would have been a lot more careful.
Alphard had certainly known that the Osawa girls were twins, but despite the added risk, that fact implied he hadn't told Daisuke. There was only one logical conclusion. Daisuke's mistake hadn't been an accident. Alphard had intended for the wrong sister to be kidnapped. By using an amateur, Alphard had set up the police to write off Daisuke's kidnapping of the wrong target as a simple misstep. Had Daisuke been brought in simply in the name of camouflage? But why? Alphard was after Hitomi's blood. Daisuke was after Hitomi's heart. They both wanted the same thing, so why target Maria instead? Stanley's train of logic had run out of steam again. Still, he was sure he was on the right track. He just needed to keep following until he found where that track would lead. Where's the storeroom you got where you were keeping Maria? He asked. Daisuke hung his head.
It's out behind the shop. Why do you ask?
Would you mind showing me? There's something I'd like to check. At this point, he needed to go back over everything right from the beginning. He followed Daisuke out to the storeroom.
Speaking of this storeroom,
Daisuke said as they were walking back to the back part of the building.
There's something I've been wondering about. Just how did Maria manage to escape in the first place?
You're certain you locked her in? Stanley asked. Daisuke nodded. At 8 o'clock this morning, the organ trafficker came by to check up on her. I made sure to lock up the place back up after he left. I see. That visit must have been when Maria was injected with the UA virus. Makes sense based on our working timeline of when we expect her to go symptomatic. When they got to the storeroom, they spotted the padlock that had held it shut, broken on the floor. Daisuke picked it up, then opened the storeroom door.
Oh, look at this mess.
It was obvious immediately that merchandise had been stolen.
I doubt Maria did this,
Daisuke said. Maybe some thieves broke in. He made a quick inspection, assessing what had been taken.
Some digital cameras and laptop computers were missing.
Minorikawa and company have a lot of laptops. This looks like the look of some local thugs. The kind of thing has happened to me a few times before. Daisuke let out a sigh of exasperation. Stanley, meanwhile, was carefully looking around the storeroom. Where'd you have Maria Osawa? He asked.
Behind those cardboard boxes.
The boxes he indicated were piled high, closing off one corner of the room. If Maria was unconscious behind them, the burglars might well have never noticed her. So Maria was able to escape from the storeroom thanks to the burglars breaking the lock, Stanley mused. Just what impact that stroke of misfortune had on Alphard's plan, he wondered. What did Alphard plan to do with Maria if no one had broken in? He was going to release her at some later time. Since he'd gone to the trouble of infecting her with the UA virus, it only made sense, and Stanley could only think of one reason to release an infected Maria. To turn Shibuya into ground zero for a pandemic that would sweep through all of Tokyo. A virus with a mortality rate of 100% would have spread throughout the region before anyone even realized it. would be impossible to even calculate the scope of such a disaster. First, it would run the circuit around the Yamanote line, and then if any of the infected happened to head to the airports, and even... Yes, I know how COVID-19 works. But that hadn't come to pass. They managed to secure Maria before she developed symptoms or even become infectious. Is that because we were better than Alphard? No, that can't be it. Alphard wasn't the sort to commit such indiscriminate acts of terror. The threat of the infection spreading, horrific as it was likely to cover up some other scheme. This is just the thinking chapter. But then, what was the ultimate goal? Stanley didn't have enough clues to go on. Stanley made his way back to the stack of cardboard boxes. He spotted something that had fallen on the floor. It was a cell phone. Next to it was a woman's handbag. Stanley unzipped it. It held a jumble of makeup, tissues, and other personal effects, but nothing at all unusual. If he was going to find any clues from it, it would probably have to come from the cell phone. He tried turning it on. Wow, that is an old cell phone. There was no response. It appeared to be broken.
Let me see that,
Daisuke said from behind him.
I'll see if I can fix it.
Do you think you can? Stanley asked as he handed it over.
I won't know until I try, but that sign out front saying over on an electronic shop isn't just for show.
Turning his attention to the back of the handbag, Stanley searched it more thoroughly and found a photograph tucked inside that he'd overlooked on his first inspection. What the hell? He stared at the image, swallowing his lump in the lump in his throat. Excuse me, game. No, I'm not dealing with that. We're finding this out. Where was it? It was here, wasn't it? Wait. There were 2 Stanley jumps, I swear. Did I, like, undo one of them or something? Well, anyway, Tatano's story continues. Tatano's phone rang and he picked up as he sped onward. Were you able to break through safely? Wait, sorry. As much as I love to speak in Kajiwara, I don't need to read this again. Okay, game. Was it like in another option of this or something? You mentioned Stanley, I swear. Or maybe... Oh, wait, no, something... Hang on. Hang on one moment. It's because it's not a to be continued anymore. The vase you've been holding is soured up against the backdrop of the evening sky. Look out, she shouted. Catch him, catch him! The hurtling scattered around and began to fall. It seemed impossible that Kano's team would be able to keep them up from shining against the ground. The SOS members fanned out, positioning themselves as best they could to intercept the falling vials. Kano likewise prepared to catch one that was headed straight towards him. As he did, he caught sight of the Palmer speeding away. Kano made up his mind on the spot. There was only one right call here, and he needed to make it. He had to protect the lives of the people nearby. As much as he wanted to apprehend the criminal, he couldn't sacrifice innocent people to do it. Kano caught one of the vials deftly in both hands. Carefully he examined it for damage. Seeing the vial didn't appear broken, he let out a sigh of relief. Then he looked around for Palmer. There was no sign of him. Damn it. The mastermind had gotten away. Vanished without a trace. Amidst the frenetic crowd of the scramble, a lone criminal could blend in an instant, becoming just another pedestrian. Trying to find him now would probably be a hopeless endeavour. But we found love in a hopeless endeavour. But I have questions. What did Stanley do that didn't make this explosion happen? And it must be decisions I've already made. There's no way to tell for sure. And if even one of them broke, it would be a death sentence for Shibuya. They had to make sure they caught them all. Spinning around in the midst of the chaos, Achi saw Susumu catch one vial deftly. Many of the other gang members appeared to have done the same. Maybe you could use turd hands for this, guys. There's one more over there. The desperate shout had come from Hitomi. She spotted the vial sailing in a high arc away from all the SOS members. Damn it! Archie launched into motion, ignoring the searing pain of his leg, but the falling vial was so far away. They were done for. He was sure of it. A pair of hands shot at and safely grabbed the falling vial. Okay, so what happens if he doesn't go for it? It was Kano. The tension drained from Archie's body. I mean, if I'm going to continue the theme, like, SOS, please someone help me, it's not healthy to make pain, da da da. The tension drained from Archie's body. We did it. We didn't break a single one. Damn it, Kano cursed under his breath as he stared out at the throng. Alphard had disappeared. They hadn't been able to capture him after all, which meant they'd lost their last chance to get the password for the lab. They hadn't just lost, they'd failed utterly. But did we we did everything we could have, right? We didn't make a single wrong call. We'll just have to leave everything to Kanan. Have to trust that she'll be able to save Maria. Archie stared up into the night sky, trying to reassure himself. Alright, so am I going to get 2 more bad endings if I don't catch the vial, I wonder? So what I'm going to do is, because Kano seems like it could be more interesting, I'm going to make this decision, not look at it, and see what happens to Kano. I mean Archie. Desperate shout came from Hitomi. She spotted the vial sailing in high arc away from all the SOS members. Damn it! Archie launched into motion, ignoring the searing pain in his leg, but the falling vial was so far away. Yeah! It was now or never. He threw himself into a head-first slide. Oh shit. The gang members broke into a cheering and applause. Archie got to his feet and looked around but saw no sign of either Kano or Alphard.
Hey Archie, if you're looking for the detective.
Smooch gestured with his chin. Archie looked and saw Kano far away across the scramble chasing after Alphard. Soon both men were lost in the crowd. Look at those guys on the left, it's just like... Are they catching a vial or they're just panicking? Archie would have charged up in pursuit as well, but his wounded leg made that impossible.
Get him, detective, he murmured in his ref. We'll count on you.
Archie's cell phone rang. It was Stanley. Mr. Stanley, what's going on? Something isn't right. Huh? I can't get in touch with Tatano, Stanley said. What about on your end? Anything unusual going on? No problems here for the moment. Detective Kano managed to catch Alpha. Did he get the password?
No, I think he just finished his interrogation.
Could you put me on the line with Kano?
Yeah, give me a sec.
Archie turned to Kano and shouted,
Detective!
Kano turned to look at him and he was flipping his own cell phone close. I've got Stanley on the line. He says he wants the detective to know. Oh, we didn't stop the explosion. Before he could complete his sentence, a massive explosion blasted Archie off his feet. Tiny bits of metal tore through his arms, legs, and torso. He crashed to the ground and crumpled like a tattered rag. There were screams coming from all directions. Hang on, is this a different ending? It's probably going to be 72 again, isn't it? It was actually started to fade from consciousness. The voices got softer and softer. Through the haze of pain, he saw a bloodied arm stretched out before him. He saw a hand that had been clasped with his hand all day long. The fingers feebly reached for him, and Archie intertwined them with his own. It took the very last of his strength. Then, both hands subsided into a stillness. Wait, wasn't the other one 73? Oh, okay, so there's two different ones. He had to chase after Palmer. It didn't matter if he didn't grab the vial. Something about the way this was playing out made Kano sure of it. Calling upon his rugby training, he broke into a sprint. Deftly dodging for the crowd, Kano kept Palmer in sight. He would catch him. One way or another, he was going to bring him the bastard down. He's going to bring him. Sadly, he gained on his quarry. As he drew his striking range, he immediately dived into an expert tackle. He caught Palmer around the waist. Their bodies collided with violent force. Ugh! Palmer went down flailing and hit the pavement hard. Even then he tried to resist, but Kano straddled him and held him down. Tell me the password, Kano snarled. The kidnapper sneered triumphantly. You made the wrong choice. Wrong choice? The UA is out now. Now nobody can be saved. You've just killed everyone in the city. No, Kano shot back. Nobody's gonna die. And what makes you so sure of that? The way you fled the scene just now. If the virus had really been in those vials, you never would have hoped could never have hoped to escape infection. Running off on foot would be pointless. Palmer said nothing, which means there was no virus in those vials. You were just a decoy in order to buy you some time to escape. Now Palmer gritted his teeth and glared up at Kano. The look on his face confirmed the detective's hunch, but more importantly, it was your eyes. You didn't have the eyes of a man who was putting his life on the line. My eyes? What do you think you are, Sherlock Holmes? I know full well the look in a man's eyes when he's willing to die. Oh! In the back of his mind, Kano replayed the moment when Tatano, doused in gasoline, had marched down that financial office to talk down a would-be arsonist. Now then, the password, give it to me now. Give it to me now, he says. Kano tightened his grip on Palmer's collar, but the man just gazed back at him with an icy glare. Let me have Hitomi Osawa's blood. That was our original deal. Ken wasn't surprised. He'd known wouldn't be easy to get him to talk. Maybe it would really be impossible to strike a deal without Kanan. But if getting her on the phone wasn't an option, Kano had to figure out something else. Sweat beaded from his brow as he cast about for ideas. Then he happened to catch sight of a car that had been overturned in an accident nearby. Gasoline had spilled from the vehicle, creating a broad dark puddle from the pavement. Kano took out his handcuffs, then cuffed Palmer's arms to his own. Come with me. Jerking his captive back to his feet, Kano led him over to the car. Then, without hesitation, he sat down in the pool of gasoline. Yanking on the handcuffs, he pulled Palmer down beside him. Kano pulled a lighter from his pocket. Palmer snorted. And just what's that supposed to be, huh? Tell me the password, or else what? You'll light the gas. You'll be burned to a crisp yourself. Yeah, probably. Kano heard the casual desperation in his own voice. What the hell are you thinking? A smile vanished from Palmer's face. Kano scowled down at him. Even if I die, my friends will avenge me. Kano met Palmer's stare dead on. Palmer and Kano locked eyes, both refusing to back down. The scent of gasoline fumes filled the air around them, and then Kano learnt convection as a thing. Kano knew that the slightest spark could set off a massive fire. Hi, Sumihoroboshi. Calmly, he flicked the lighter on. You can't be serious! Palmer's eyes fixed in the tiny flicker of flame. The password. You value your life so little? The password! In his mind, Kano could only see the pages of the Dick Diary as clear as day. Number 15. No. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Palmer glared in defiance. Kano brought the lighter closer and closer to the gasoline. He could practically feel his own life growing shorter as his hand descended, and yet he felt no trace of fear. His body was numb, his senses strangely distant. Time seemed to slow, the world around him dissolved into a... Is it gonna be like Archie yells at him and that throws him off and he actually drops the lighter? He was surprised at how calm, how remote he felt, here in the midst of this life or death confrontation. And then, far in the depths of Palmer's eye, he saw the barest hint of doubt. He fixes that lighter isn't lit anymore. His gaze on that point of weakness and did not look away. Palmer's shoulders slumped perceptibly. Now Kano was certain of it. This was a man who'd never put his life on the line before. Shizuo's words sounded in the back of his mind. You need a cool mind, but a fiery spirit. A detective without both of those is worth nothing. Thank you, sweet honey. Let me go. Promise to let me go and I'll tell you. Is that your answer? I don't think you quite understand the situation here. Kano brought the flame still closer to the gasoline. Palmer's eyes went wide. No longer was he able to hide his trembling uncertainty. Alright, I'll tell you. Just put that thing out. The password first. He doesn't know the password of it. His voice a strangled snarl. Palmer gave him the password. Kano extinguished the lighter. What if it's 11037? Pulling out his cell phone, Kano dialed up Osawa. As he did, he recalled his last exchange with Stanley at the electronics shop. Oh, we can find out now. Looks like we'll be able to have that beer after all together. But Osawa didn't answer. Kano guessed immediately that something was amiss. Detective! Archie's voice was full of worry. I've got Stanley on the line. He says the detective tightened up. Seriously, someone has got to stop playing that song. It only leads to doom.
Kenny didn't get to hear the rest of Archie's words. A thunderous blast hurled him to the pavement. Where had the explosion come from? His lighter certainly hadn't set the gasoline ablaze. Kano hadn't been that clumsy, so what had happened? Only one possible answer came to his mind. Palmer had blown himself up, but that only confused Kano further. His captive had already given up the parcel. How does he have this much time to think? What would prompt him to set off a bomb at this juncture? As he was losing consciousness, Kano continued to rack his brain, but he found no answers. Stanley, what are you up to? See this photo. Turning his attention back to the handbag, Stanley searched it more thoroughly and found a photograph tucked inside that he overlooked in his first inspection. What the hell? He stared at the picture, swallowing the lump in his throat. It was a photo of Maria standing next to another young girl. There was something written on the marker in the back. Me and Kanan, 7:30. I mean July 30th. Even though we're not American. Stanley hurriedly flipped the photo back over and looked at it again. What does this mean? The girl in the photo with Maria looked nothing like Kanan, who had been there with the end of electronics they'd left with Maria and Tatano a few minutes ago. But the girl they were working with wasn't Kanan, and who was she? Holy shit, they never showed us Kanan in the flashback. Oh no, oh no, oh no. No, no, no. Stanley felt his blood run cold. Could she be? Was she Alphard? The more he thought about it, the more it all added up. Assuming Alphard were masquerading as Kanan, the whole sequence of events suddenly began to make sense. She was strikingly audacious and fiendishly clever, but she hadn't outmaneuvered them just yet. As luck would have it, she still had the chance to stop her. They still had the chance to stop her. At long last, Stanley could see the outline of Alphard's plan. Shit, they got me good. Her goal was to get the antiviral. But extracting the DDS from Hitomi's blood wasn't enough. Akoshi Pharmaceutical still had the drug at their laboratory. Antiviral's value came specifically from having a monopoly on it. And now that you say it, like, Maria collapsed as soon as she came into the same room as her, so she never really got to meet. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why didn't Maria say something when she had her memories back and remembered Kanan and they were in the buildings? Her goal was to get the antiviral, but extracting the DDS from Hitomi's blood wasn't enough. Akoshi Pharmaceuticals still had the drug at their laboratory. The antiviral's value came specifically from having a monopoly on it, which meant that in addition to obtaining the drug itself, Alphard also needed to destroy Akoshi facilities. That was the crux of her plan. The problem was finding a way to infiltrate those facilities. In all likelihood, Alphard's scheme went something like this. Have Maria Osawa kidnapped, then infected with the UA virus. After that, eliminate Tanaka. Once Osawa learned that Maria had been infected with the virus, he was certain to use the antiviral on her. But he needed his partner Tanaka in order to access the storage facility, and Tanaka was dead. That's why Alphard had been masquerading as Kanan. Kanan was Maria's friend and an expert in hacking passwords. If she could secure Osawa's trust, he would let her into the research facility in order to carry out the hack. That's why Alphard, in the guise of Kanan, had saved Hitomi's life repeatedly. Getting Hitomi to trust her would likewise earn the trust of her father. There were still some finer details that remained a mystery. For instance, how was Alphard going to destroy the lab? Still, Stanley could look into that once he had her in custody. I can't believe Kano is going to turn out to be Alphard. He needed to move quickly to stop her from getting into the Yokoshi facility.
I fixed it.
Daisuke approached Stanley and held out Maria's cell phone.
Well, as best as I could at any rate. It looks like I'll be getting
it'll get a signal, but whatever data was on was all gone. I see. Stanley took the phone and put it to his pocket. He'd hoped he might be able to learn something useful on it, but luck evidently wasn't his side. He was just going to have to go up against Alphard with what he'd already had. Now that he'd guessed what was really going on, Stanley went to talk with Kano. You need to get to the scramble without me, he said. What? Kano was visibly shook. Where's all this coming from? Please, don't ask me to explain. Something else has come up and I have to see to it. Stanley hated having to do this. He wished he could explain everything. But if he made any unusual moves now, there was a risk that Alphard would pick up on it. It was better to keep his companions in the dark, just in case. I understand, Kano said. Do what you have to do and come back soon. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more. It's alright. I wish I could find a way to get by. Kano gave him the thumbs up. The sight brought back some painful memories. Up until just a few hours ago, Stanley had instinctively seen Kano as all too naive. I mean, as Sun Tzu says, like, you must know yourself. If you don't know yourself as well as you know your enemy or something like that, you'll have 100 terrible battles or something like that. And now I'm saying, but also yourselves must not know you. I haven't read The Art of War. Up until a few hours ago, Stanley had instinctively seen Kano as all too naive. And now he finally knew why. Kano was just like his younger brother, Frank. Hey, that's who Frankie is. They might have looked very different, but in a way, they mixed up their responsibilities with their personal feelings. They were totally alike. Stanley couldn't discount that naivete. In the end, it was all part of the human condition. Jack, are you really okay with this? Frank cast an anxious look at his older brother as they made their way to the University of Chicago. A private university in Chicago, Illinois, lauded as one of the foremost research institutions in the US, more than 90 alumni have been awarded the Nobel Prize. The school has been made a number of major contributions to the world beyond simple academics, including the construction of the world's first artificial nuclear reactor, Chicago Power 1, and Chicago School of Economics, a school of economic thought with stress of monetarism. But you could also be a college dropout in Chicago, and that works out well for you. It's my responsibility to look after you, Stanley told him. As long as you take your studying seriously, I'm all for it. Frank had been worrying about the tuition costs as he prepared for college. After losing their parents 5 years earlier, the two struggled to get by. Yeah, but... Stanley set both hands on his brother's shoulder. Listen to me, Frank. You're my brother and I care about you. I just want whatever you do to be something you can be proud of. Alright, Jack, I hear you. And thanks. Can promise me one thing. What's that? Once this is all, you'll go have a beer with me. Sure, alright. That's a promise now, remember? Kenneth flashed him a grateful smile. And in that smile, Stanley again saw a little something of Frank. Hurrying out of Endo Electronics, Stanley dialed up Tatano as he ran along. Is that what time he was up to? We're a long way from finishing this. Listen carefully. Your life might depend on it, he said as soon as Tatano picked up. He knew the detective wouldn't be able to respond openly since Alphard was right there with him. On the spur of the moment, Stanley devised a simple code of how he should answer yes or no. He told Tatano to respond with a "that's right" to mean yes, and "will do" to mean no. There was no time for anything more complex. Right now, Stanley just needed to stop Alphard from getting to the lab. He quickly explained his suspicions around Kanan. Tatano sounded distinctly unnerved. At any rate, Stanley said, you need to find a way to turn back without her realizing what's going on.
Will do,
Tatano replied. Wait. Sorry. Hang on. Wait. So he's going to head to the laboratory despite Stanley's instructions. Saving Maria is your top priority, isn't it?
That's right.
The detective's affirmation was firm. Alright then. Guess I'll have to head back my way myself. In the meantime, do not let her inside that lab.
That's right.
Tatano was no match for Alphard. If she figured out what was going on, she'd probably kill him on the spot. This is a lot easier. It's a lot more simple than the very complicated code in Higurashi Chapter 8. Or it's not complicated, but it's like it's slow and lumbering. If she figured out what was going on, she'd probably kill him on the spot. Reassurance or encouragement would be meaningless right now. Instead, Stanley left Tatano with one final warning. Just keep Maria safe. That's your job. Tatano hung up without saying anything. The area around Dogenzaka was in disarray. The government declared a state of high alert, and the people in the street were just milling about uneasily, unsure what was going on. Modern-day Japan lacks both the infrastructure and the legal framework to properly deal with a large-scale bioterrorist attack. Coordination between the police, Japan's self-defense force, health centers, and so forth would be a monumental task. In all likelihood, if a bioweapon was ever unleashed there, a target site would fall into chaos. Don't 2020 me. The main roads had been blocked off and automobile and motorcycles were at a standstill. Some vehicles had overturned the curb in an apparent attempt to circumvent the blockade. At any moment now, Kano's team would be putting their plan into action at the scramble. Stanley wasn't sure they might have gotten to help, but Kano was certain to put them to good use. Please, stay safe. Don't you die on me. Stanley prayed silently as he darted underneath the railway overpass. He made it to his car, still parked on the roadside, fortunately beyond the blocked off area. Jumping in, he sped off towards the laboratory. As he drove along, Stanley again tried to deduce Alphard's plan of action. If Alphard herself was on the way to the lab now, then what was the objective of the fake who'd been sent to the scramble? A call came in from Tatano. Stanley here. He picked up quickly, but as he did, he wondered. Why was Tatano calling him? Alphard was right there. There was no way the detective should be risking a phone call. What's going on? Tatano said nothing. Stanley repeated the question. Still, Tatano did not reply. Stanley's apprehension spread like a droplet of ink in water. Hey! Has something happened? Hey! Answer me! Hey! Listen! The call cut short. Stanley hurriedly dialed Tatano's number, but he couldn't get through. Something had gone badly wrong, he was sure of it. Sorry, I thought there was a prompt coming up. Had he been too arrogant in thinking that he might be a match for Alphard? His warriors turned to the team at Scramble. What if they had walked into a trap? Figuring it would be too dangerous to call Kano in the midst of the negotiations, Stanley instead dialed up Archie. Oh, we're already up to 1905? We've skipped 1901, trying to hunt me. Been a long, long night. Going, hey, 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 hey. It's not a secret. Anyway, Mr. Stanley, what's going on? To Stanley's relief, it sounded like things down at the scramble had gone well enough, so he asked Archie to put him on the phone with Kano. Yeah, give me a sec, the young man said. Detective! Stanley could hear Archie shouting from the other end. I've got Stanley on the line. He said Detective Tatano. There was a sudden tremendous boom and then the call cut out. Stanley's jaw dropped. He felt his mind emptied out by despair. He opened his mouth, but he couldn't even bring himself to scream. All he could do was curse inwardly, again and again. Stanley slammed his fist into the steering wheel as hard as he could. Then he did it again, and again, and again and again and again. He didn't stop even when his fists were marred with blood. You finally got a bad end, Stanley. How does it feel? So what is going on with Tatano is the question. Once they made it past Shibuya Station, the roads were relatively clear. They ought to make it past the lab in no time. The phone rang again. It was Stanley. What's going on? He asked the American. Listen carefully, your life may depend on it. I'm going to ask you some questions. If the answer is yes, say, that's right. If the answer is no, reply with, will do. For a moment, Tatano was bewildered. From the urgency in Stanley's voice, however, he realized there was some kind of emergency.
That's right, he said after a moment's thought. That ought to let Stanley know he understood the code.
Is Kanan with you right now?
That's right.
That Kanan is an imposter. They didn't say that on our time, but Tatano gripped his phone more tightly, hoping it would stop the trembling in his hand. It's her, Stanley said. She's Alphard. The detective had to stifle a gasp of alarm. I don't have time to fill you in on the details, but I've got some pretty incontrovertible evidence. You need to turn back around. Tatano struggled to come to terms with what he just heard. He glanced at Kanan through the rearview mirror. She was holding Maria tightly in her arms. Was this really all an act on her part? And if so, why? There was only one possible reason. If Kanan really was Alphard, then she had only one goal. She was pretending to help Maria in order to get into the lab, where she would be able to conceal the antiviral. But wait, hold on. Kanan was Maria's friend, wasn't she? Tommy had said that so much herself. Kanan is my sister's friend. Maria certainly knew what her own friend looked like, and since it was obvious that Maria might be present, it didn't make sense for a clever imposter to pretend to be Kanan, or did it? What if Kanan has a twin? When Kanan showed up on the roof of South Hill, making a surprise attack on Tatano, Maria had even taken down the staircase without looking back. And wait. Yeah, here we go. I must have misremembered the timing of it. And when she turned up at the electronics workroom, Maria had already collapsed and fallen unconscious. I've been called out so hard here. Tatano felt a chill spreading through his body. As far as he knew, Maria had never actually seen the girl who was now sitting in the back seat. But then what about Hitomi? Shouldn't she have known what Kanan looked like? Tatano tried to remember just what Hitomi had said. Kanan is my sister's friend. I just met her for the first time today. If they'd never met each other before today, then maybe Hitomi didn't know what the real Kanan looked like. This was the only explanation that made sense. But, didn't Kanan reminisce with Maria? Hey Tatano, you still with me? Stanley sounded like he was on the verge of panic. At any rate, you need to find a way to turn back without her realizing what's going on. Even if Kanan really was Alphard, Tatano still needed to keep heading towards that lab. He went over the code response in his head. Yes, went, that's right, no words will do.
Will do, he said.
Saving Maria is your top priority, isn't it?
That's right,
Tatano said. Alright then, guess I'll have to head back that way myself. In the meantime, do not let her inside the lab.
That's right.
Tatano hung up.
Who was that?
Kanan asked. Tatano felt a heart skip a beat.
That was Kuze, the cop from earlier.
He tried to keep his voice as low as possible.
He was worried about us and wanted to check up.
Okay, Kanan muttered, sounding disinterested. Tatano could only hope that she hadn't guessed the truth. It felt that the spectre of death himself was breathing down his neck. Though if we go back, this might explain that Kanan would kill Stanley and Kano in that earlier timeline, if that was really her. At last, the minivan arrived at Akoshi Pharmaceutical. Tatano pulled up at the front gate and got out of the vehicle. Off to one side of the entrance was an intercom for contacting the security room.
I'm assuming you already heard the details from the director.
Tatano barked into the intercom.
Open up.
Wait, we haven't heard anything from Director Osawa. The security guard spat back. Moreover, the laboratory is on complete lockdown. I'm sorry, but not even Director Osawa is allowed inside.
That's ridiculous.
Tatano scowled at the intercom in frustration. Then a car came racing towards him along the street. The sound of screeching brakes filled the air, and as the vehicle skidded to a halt, and then Kenji Osawa jumped out from the driver's seat.
Maria!
Osawa rushed over to Tatano and then to Maria, where she lay in the minivan. He looked carefully at his daughter's face.
Oh, thank goodness. She still hasn't gone symptomatic. Mr. Osawa, why aren't people being allowed into the laboratory?
Osawa tilted his head.
They're not?
Tatano explained why the guard had just said.
That's ridiculous.
Osawa immediately called the security guard of the intercom. He got the same story.
You've got to be kidding me.
Osawa raged.
I'm the lab director here.
But the security guard wasn't hearing it. I'm sorry, sir. These orders come direct from Mr. Makino.
No. So I am just supposed to sit out here and watch my daughter die.
Tatano racked his brain for other ideas. Maybe they'd have to climb the gate to break their way in. Then over the intercom, they heard the sound of a phone ringing in the security room. The security guard answered it without muting the intercom speaker. His voice was faintly audible. It sounded rather deferential. Who in the world could he be talking to? Before Tatano could muse further, the gate suddenly opened. Huh? Huh? Why? Tatano and Osawa looked at one another in surprise. I have a message for Director Osawa from Mr. Makino, the security guard said. From Makino? Osawa huddled over to the intercom and brief Sotto Voce exchange with the guard. What the hell was that about? Tatano asked. It would seem that my wife was able to pull some strings for us. After Osawa left home, Osawa's wife, had a change of heart. Even if it meant losing everything, she decided she wanted to save Maria's life. Though Maria was not Osawa's wife's real daughter, it turned out that at the time they'd spent living together had sowed the first seeds of a familiar bond. Sowing the seeds of familiar bond, the seeds of familiar bond, sowing the seeds of... Osawa smiled uncomfortably. Tatano didn't have time to wonder what that might mean. Has the lock been opened for us as well? He asked. The smile disappeared from Osawa's face. No. She wasn't able to do anything about that final layer of security. I see. Well, let's regroup inside for now. Very well, Osawa said. By the way, who's going to be hacking the password? I am, Kanan replied. Oh, so you're Kanan. We should get you to the laboratory then. Osawa began to lead the way inside. Kanan followed. If Kanan really was Alphard, Tatano couldn't let her into the lab. But without getting that lock open, there was no way of getting Maria the antiviral she needed to survive. They couldn't go anywhere until Stanley got there. Tatano knew exactly what he needed to do. What's the matter? Osawa turned and cast a look of confusion back at Tatano and Kanan, both of whom had stopped in their tracks. We'll wait out here, Tatano said. But, I mean, isn't Kanan going to hack the password? There's been a slight change of plans. Go ahead and wait for us at the lab, Director. Alright, but we don't have much time before Maria develops symptoms. I'll be inside. Please don't keep me waiting long. With Maria in his arms and a worried look on his face, Osawa hurried in the front gate and disappeared from view. What do you think you're doing? Kanan asked, stiffening as Tatano nudged the barrel of his gun against her spine. You're Alphard, aren't you? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's no use trying to play dumb. Stanley found proof. Before he finished speaking, Kanan seemed to disappear from view. He cartwheeled away at blinding speed, too quick for Tatano to keep a bead on her. By the time she'd righted herself, she had already drawn a gun of her own. Abruptly, he found himself facing her in a stare down, weapons aimed at one another. Then Kanan's phone rang and she reached to answer it. Don't move, Tatano roared. Did you forget the plan? That might be Hitomi calling. I don't care, don't you dare move. If Kanan really was Alphard, the whole plan would be a sham. Tatano kept the barrel of his gun squarely on its mark. Kanan let out a little sigh. Have you considered that Stanley might be lying to you? Yes, it's possible, but I need to make sure we avoid a worst case scenario. If you don't let me into the lab, who's gonna hack the password? We've got your little decoy. My friends will get the fake Alphard to cop up the password. Once her phone had stopped ringing, Kanan sighed again. And what about Stanley then? Well, that's the time he's up to. Is he on his way here? Who knows? Tatano said. Wait a minute. We've stopped the explosion. I don't know how, but we have. She seemed disturbingly full of confidence. It's all about confidence, baby. Kanan flipped open her cell phone. Who do you think you're calling? Tatano adjusted his aim, pointing his gun at the young woman's head. Look, I'm gonna call Hitomi and have her clear up these suspicions you have about me. Wait, we don't have the time for this right now. Wouldn't you agree? Kanan stared back at Tatano, cell phone in hand, waiting for his reply.
It doesn't matter what Hitomi says, I trust my own judgment.
Your own judgment, huh? And is that always correct? Kanan began punching in numbers. She never took her eyes off Tatano. Well, we're still getting an explosion. As he waited for Hitomi to pick up. She's not answering. Kanan hung up and tried calling again. It's me. It looked like she'd gotten through this time. That detective doesn't trust me. Apparently he thinks I'm Alphard, not Kanan. After a few moments, Kanan held the phone out to Tatano. Here, Hitomi says I'm definitely Kanan. Tatano didn't reach out for the cell phone. Instead, he advanced on Kanan with his gun still on his mark.
This is a farce, Tatano spat. Hitomi's words don't mean a thing. You might be Kanan to her, but you aren't to me. I don't even know if there ever was a real person named Kanan in the first place. So maybe you're Kanan, and you're Alphard. And you're Alphard. Kanan shook her head and put her phone away.
If you're really Alphard, you don't actually need to hack the password, Tatano said. I'm guessing you already got it from Tanaka, which means you'll be able to get your hands on the antiviral as soon as you get into the lab. Kanan didn't so much as flinch. The only thing stopping you from getting the antiviral is the antiviral still in Hitomi Yosawa's body. Possessing the antiviral and having monopoly on it are two different things. You want to eliminate Hitomi. That's why you lured her down to the scramble. Am I wrong? If that's true, then how am I going to plan on getting rid of her? Using this so-called substitute Alphard or something? Yes, that's right. Tatano couldn't be certain. But he couldn't think of any other way. Kanan let her laugh. You don't know the first thing about Alphard, she said. Alphard keeps the outlines of his plans so blurred that his deliberate actions just get lumped in with coincidences. That's the crux of all his plans. That's how he's able to pull off his schemes by himself. He'd never solicit help from a third party. The words sounded like they were from Kanan's, but also they seemed like they were Alphard's. Whatever the case, Tatano had to let Kano know that Hitomi was in danger. With his gun still at the ready, he got out his gun and called the detective. But the phone rang several times and nobody answered. Eventually he had no choice but to hang up. They must have been in the middle of a confrontation on the other end. For now, Tatano could only pray that Kano and the others would be able to handle whatever threat we're up against. So many missed phone calls in this section. I am not letting you get in there. After that, Kanan let out a faint chuckle. In that case, I'm going to have to eliminate you. Even without a gun raised, she still radiated intimidation. Tatano might have had her at gunpoint, but he could feel the threat of her presence like a gathering storm. Eliminate me, he said, doing his best to mask any sign of weakness. You're the one who doesn't have your gun at the ready. I don't need my gun, Kanan said simply. Why's that? Because you can't shoot me. What's that supposed to mean? Kanan glared sharply at Tatano. Her look pierced him like a blade. Then she quirked an unsettly smile and took closer to him. Don't move, he warned. Tatano said. Try anything funny, and I'll make sure you regret it. He kept his gun trained on the center of her chest. You can't shoot me. Kanan took another step closer. You're still traumatized from that time you let your friend's wife die. How do you know about that? Tatano was shaking now, his aim wavering. I heard you talking with a younger detective on that rooftop. That was right, she had been there. Let's test my theory out. Kanan pointed the index finger at her own heart. If you think I'm Alphard, shoot me, right here. Hmm? The corner of her mouth twisted up. You can't do it, can you? Tatano's gun hand shook all the more. You're afraid to pull the trigger. It was as if her words were a spell that he was casting over him. You can hardly even stand the thought of pointing a gun at someone. Tatano shook his head violently, back and forth, but he couldn't get Kanan's words out of his head. Just keep Maria safe, that's your job. Just keep Maria safe, that's your job. That's what Stanley had said. And he was right. Don't hesitate. Don't think. This was Alphard, a sadistic terrorist. He just needed to trust himself and pull the trigger. There was a horrid, visceral sound. Gastric fluids rushed up Tatano's throat. He pitched forward on his hands and knees and vomited on the spot. The sensation of pulling the trigger. The recoil in the wake of the shot.
It was exactly as it had all been those years ago. He never wanted to fire a gun again. At this point, he'd probably never be able to. Where were you even aiming? The voice had come from right in front of him. He looked up to see Kanan standing right there. His heart began hammering like mad. This was the end. He braced himself for oblivion, even as his body cried out to survive. There was a dull roar of a gunshot, and then silence. I want to try to make this explosion happen. Maybe this will do it. Yep, this is Explosion Town. He's gonna have to let her in the lab. Tutton had made up his mind.
Is something the matter?
Osawa said wearily.
No, it's nothing. Then if you would be so kind.
Osawa led the way. Kanan and Tetano followed him towards the storage facility. It took about 20 seconds for the elevator to reach the first basement level. The biohazard storage area was evidently fairly deep underground. The doors opened to reveal a long straight corridor. There was a door at the far end, with a device at one side for checking IDs. Kanan approached the device, setting the laptop she'd borrowed from the security room out in front of it. She affixed a scrap of paper with Kenji Osawa's password written on it, on one side of the monitor. Then she connected a series of cables to both the laptop and the device. Tatano kept his hand on his holster as he watched her work. Kanan began to slowly tap away at the keyboard. Her screen displayed a series of numeric values that changed with each keystroke. She checked the changes carefully, timing her movements of her fingers according to some formula. The device let out a warning sound and the device lit up. Incorrect password. The input had been rejected. Was this really going to work? Tatano felt his impatience growing. Osawa's face showed a similar unease. Kanan turned to look at them. How many failed attempts are we allowed?
2, I believe.
Osawa answered.
After a third failed attempt, the storage area is locked down and can't be reopened without input from a full board of directors.
Kanan had already resumed typing before he finished speaking. There's a very slight difference in power consumption from the device when it processes a correct password to an incorrect password. There's a minuscule difference of time it takes to run the process as well. If we can analyze those and compare them... Kanan's voice trailed off. She continued working. There was another warning sound. A second failed attempt. A single bead of sweat ran down Tatano's forehead, but Kanan didn't so much as bat an eyelash. I see. Her face remained full of confidence. It won't be a problem, she assured them. This isn't my first time with this type of mechanism. Slowly one at a time, Kanan pressed one key after another while keeping her eyes on the laptop screen. With each keystroke, a waveform at the top of the screen looked almost like an echocardiogram readout wobbled politely. The laptop let out a tiny sound. A sequence of 10 characters appeared on the screen and Kanan read them off. Tatano jotted them down in his notebook, and then headed over for the scanner to enter the twin passwords for Osawa and Tanaka. That seems questionable as a system. The door opened. Kanan let out a sigh of relief. Osawa gathered up Maria and headed into the storage area. Get out. As soon as Osawa and his daughter were out of view, Tatano drew his pistol. Kanan arched an eyebrow. What do you think you're doing?
Just get out of here.
Tatano pointed the barrel of his gun at Kanan's face. Suddenly she did as she was told, turning and walking towards the elevator. He followed a few paces behind. She gave no hint of resistance. This looks like Doom. Now Tatano needed to let Stanley know they'd successfully opened the laboratory door. He pulled out his cell phone and as he followed her into the elevator. As soon as he did, Kanan pressed herself a flush against the wall. A sudden explosion within the corridor sent Tatano careening off balance. He slammed into the elevator wall. Then as he lay in a daze, the elevator doors drew slowly closed and the cab began to rise upward. Tatano could tell the impact had broken several of his ribs. Blood rose from his throat and filled the inside of his mouth. He felt his grip of consciousness fading, but he managed to flip open his cell phone. Stanley, please, pick up. Ooh, now it makes sense. He jabbed his thumb hard on the call button.
Stanley here. What's going on? Hey, something happened? Hey, answer me. But it was too late for Tatano even to hear Stanley's voice. Wait, wrong one. Just also lore. The fact that it says Jack, does that mean we can at some point control his brother? Alright, but as much as I'd love to continue, it is 4 AM at the moment. Yeah, and there's no way I'm going to finish this all tonight. I doubt we'll be able to finish it next time I stream, but I don't know, we'll see. We got through roughly an hour. That's what matters. And the plot has thickened in many ways. So, as I've said before, no way I'm streaming Thursday night, no way I'm streaming Friday night, no way I'm streaming Saturday night. Sunday is actually possibly on the cards because of things going on. Yeah, the next stream will probably be on Sunday or Monday. And then, who knows, maybe we'll get to the end of this game. I feel like we won't because there's way more stuff in, including apparently a secret labyrinth game and all that manner of things. But we'll see. Anyway, if you're here live or you're here on the VOD, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day, night, afternoon, whatever time it is, etc, etc, etc. And I will hope to see you another time.